The electricity had been shut off for 3 days when Janelle Brooks heard the knock on her apartment door. She was sitting on the threadbare carpet in the dim afternoon light, trying to soothe 3 crying 1-year-olds at once. Caleb had a fever. Isaiah wouldn't stop screaming. And little Amara kept pulling at Janelle's tangled hair with her tiny fists, adding physical pain to the exhaustion that had become Janelle's constant companion. The knock came again, louder this time, more insistent. Janelle's heart dropped into her stomach. She knew what that knock meant. For 3 months, she'd been dodging calls from the property management company. For 3 months, she'd been juggling bills like a circus performer, always dropping more than she could catch. The rent was late. Very late. And now someone was at her door, probably with papers that would put her and her babies on the street. She looked around her tiny studio apartment. The space was barely big enough for one person, let alone a mother and 3 babies. Diapers were stacked in corners. Baby formula containers lined the counter. 3 cribs were crammed against one wall, so close together they almost touched. The heating hadn't worked in weeks, and Janelle had been keeping the babies warm with every blanket she owned, layered over their small bodies. "Just a minute," she called out, her voice cracking. She grabbed a red cardigan from the back of a chair and pulled it on over her faded t-shirt, trying to look more put together than she felt. Her reflection in the cracked mirror by the door showed a 26-year-old woman who looked 40. Dark circles under her brown eyes. Hair that hadn't seen a proper salon in over a year. Chapped lips from stress and dehydration because she always made sure the babies had formula before she had water. The knock came a 3rd time. Janelle picked up Amara, the quietest of the 3, and balanced her on one hip. She opened the door, expecting to see the building manager, Mr. Peterson, with his permanent scowl and clipboard. Instead, she found herself looking at a man in an expensive navy suit. He was tall, probably 6 feet, with light brown hair touched with gray at the temples. His blue eyes were sharp and assessing behind silver-rimmed glasses. He carried a leather folder and wore shoes that probably cost more than Janelle's entire month's salary from the 2 part-time jobs she'd recently lost because childcare had fallen through. Janelle Brooks. His voice was deep, professional, with no warmth in it. "Yes." She shifted Amara to her other hip. Behind her, Isaiah's screaming reached a new pitch. "I'm Benjamin Hayes. I own this building." He paused, and his eyes flickered past her into the apartment. "May I come in?" The words hit Janelle like cold water. The owner. Not just the management company. The actual owner had come to evict her personally. This was worse than she thought. She wanted to say no. Wanted to slam the door and pretend none of this was happening. But what good would that do? "Yes, come in." She stepped aside and Benjamin Hayes walked into her life. The moment he crossed the threshold, everything seemed to freeze. His polished shoes stopped on her worn carpet. His eyes took in the scene. 3 cribs. No electricity. A space heater that wasn't working. Dirty dishes in the sink because she couldn't keep up. Baby clothes hanging on a makeshift line across the room. The smell of diapers and formula and desperation. And the babies. 3 beautiful brown babies, all crying, all needing more than Janelle could give them. Benjamin's expression shifted. The professional coldness cracked and something else showed through. Something Janelle couldn't quite read. Surprise? Concern? She didn't know. She was too tired to guess. "You have triplets." It wasn't a question. "Yes." Janelle jiggled Amara, trying to keep her calm. "Caleb, Isaiah, and Amara. They're 13 months old. And you're here alone?" The question felt like an accusation, even though his tone had softened. Janelle's jaw tightened. "Yes. Their father left when I was 6 months pregnant. I'm doing the best I can." Benjamin set his leather folder on the small table by the door. He looked at Caleb, who was lying in his crib, face flushed with fever. "That baby is sick." "I know." Janelle's voice broke. "I have medicine but I can't get the fever down. I was going to take him to the clinic tomorrow." "The clinic?" "The free clinic. It's a 40-minute bus ride." Benjamin was quiet for a long moment. He looked at the babies, at the apartment, at Janelle's face. She could see him processing, calculating. She braced herself for the eviction speech, for the papers he would serve, for the timeline of how many days she had to pack up and leave. But instead, Benjamin Hayes did something Janelle never expected. He took off his suit jacket and laid it carefully over the back of her only chair. Then he walked over to Caleb's crib and looked down at the feverish baby. "May I?" He gestured to Caleb. Janelle blinked. "May you what?" "Pick him up. Check him." She didn't know what to say, so she just nodded. Benjamin lifted Caleb gently from the crib. The baby whimpered but didn't cry harder. Benjamin felt Caleb's forehead, looked at his glassy eyes, checked his breathing. His movements were competent, like he'd done this before. "He needs to see a doctor today, not tomorrow," Benjamin said. "And this apartment is too cold for sick children. For any children." "I know." Janelle felt tears burning her eyes. "I know, okay? I know I'm failing them. I know this place is terrible. I know I'm behind on rent. I know you're here to kick us out. I get it. But I don't have anywhere else to go and I don't have any money and I'm trying so hard, but it's never enough. It's never enough." The words poured out and then the tears came too. Janelle couldn't stop them. She'd been holding everything in for so long, and now this stranger, this wealthy man who owned her building and was about to make her homeless, was standing in her terrible apartment holding her sick baby, and she couldn't pretend anymore that she was managing. She wasn't managing. She was drowning. Benjamin carefully placed Caleb back in the crib and turned to face Janelle. His expression had changed completely. The cold businessman was gone. In his place was someone else entirely. "Miss Brooks," he said quietly, "I didn't come here to kick you out." Janelle wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "You didn't?" "I came here because the property management company filed paperwork to evict you, and I always review eviction cases personally before they proceed. I don't believe in putting people on the street without understanding the situation first." He paused. "And now that I understand your situation, I'm not going to evict you." Janelle stared at him. "You're not?" "No." Benjamin looked around the apartment again. "But you can't stay here either. This place isn't suitable for 3 babies. The heating doesn't work, the space is too small, and you clearly need more help than you're getting." Hope and fear warred in Janelle's chest. "I don't understand. What are you saying?" Benjamin pulled out his phone and made a quick call. "Richard, I need you to handle the downtown meeting this afternoon. Something's come up." He listened for a moment. "No, it can't wait. Reschedule everything." He hung up and looked back at Janelle. "Miss Brooks, I'm going to make you an offer, and I need you to listen carefully before you respond. Could you imagine being in Janelle's position, desperate and alone with 3 babies, facing homelessness? What would you do if a stranger offered to change your life? Drop a comment below with your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe for more heartwarming stories that will restore your faith in humanity." Janelle's arms tightened around Amara. She didn't dare hope. Hope had let her down too many times before. "What kind of offer?" "I own several properties in this city. One of them is a 3-bedroom house about 20 minutes from here. It's been vacant for 2 months because I've been renovating it between tenants. The renovation is finished, but I haven't listed it yet." He paused. "I want you and your children to live there." Janelle's breath caught. "I can't afford a 3-bedroom house. I can't even afford this studio." "You won't be paying rent." "Not at first. Consider it part of a job offer." "A job offer?" Benjamin nodded. "I need someone to manage my residential properties. Handle tenant communications, coordinate repairs, process applications. It's a full-time position that can be done mostly from home, which means you can be with your children. The salary is $45,000 a year, plus benefits including health insurance." Janelle felt dizzy. This couldn't be real. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. "Why would you offer me this? You don't know anything about me. I know you're 3 months behind on rent because you lost your childcare and then lost your jobs. I know you're raising 3 babies alone in impossible circumstances. I know you haven't given up even though most people would have." Benjamin's voice was firm. "I also know that my property management has been a disaster lately because my current manager is incompetent. I've been looking for someone new, someone who understands what it's like to struggle, someone who will treat my tenants with compassion. I think you're that person." Isaiah's crying finally started to quiet. Caleb had fallen into a fitful sleep. Amara tucked her head against Janelle's shoulder. Janelle wanted to say yes. Every fiber of her being wanted to say yes. But the practical part of her brain, the part that had been burned too many times, held her back. "What if I'm not good at the job? What if I fail? Then we'll figure it out." "But I don't think you will." Benjamin picked up his leather folder and pulled out a business card. "I'm not doing this out of pity, Miss Brooks. I'm doing it because I need someone and you need an opportunity. This is business. But it's also the right thing to do." The right thing to do. When was the last time someone had done the right thing for Janelle without expecting something in return? She looked at her babies. At the cramped, cold apartment. At the life she'd been trying to build on a foundation of sand. And she looked at Benjamin Hayes, this stranger in an expensive suit who had walked into her disaster and offered her a lifeline instead of condemnation. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay. Yes." Louder this time. Yes, I accept. All of it. The house, the job, everything. Thank you. Something flickered in Benjamin's eyes. Relief? Satisfaction? Good. Now, first things first. We need to get Caleb to a doctor. I'll drive you to the urgent care center. It's faster than the emergency room. I don't have a car seat. I'll have 3 delivered to the house this afternoon. He was already pulling out his phone again. Can you pack a bag for each of the babies? Enough for a few days. My assistant will arrange for movers to get the rest of your things tomorrow. Janelle's head was spinning. This was happening so fast. Too fast. But also not fast enough because Caleb needed a doctor, and she needed to get her baby somewhere warm and safe. Are you sure about this? She asked. Benjamin met her eyes. I'm sure. Are you? Janelle thought about Trevor, the baby's father, who had promised to stand by her and then vanished the moment things got hard. She thought about her own parents, who had disowned her when she refused to give the babies up for adoption. She thought about every boss who had fired her for missing work when the babies were sick, every landlord who had turned her away, every person who had seen her struggling and looked the other way. And now here was Benjamin Hayes, offering help without conditions, without judgment. She adjusted Amara on her hip and nodded. Yes, I'm sure. Then let's get moving. Your new life starts today. The urgent care center was nothing like the free clinic Janelle was used to. The waiting room had comfortable chairs, recent magazines, and a children's play area. The receptionist smiled warmly when Benjamin walked in carrying Caleb, with Janelle following behind, holding Isaiah and Amara. Mr. Hayes, the receptionist greeted him by name. How can we help you today? This baby has a fever and needs to be seen immediately. Benjamin's voice carried the kind of authority that made things happen. Within 10 minutes, they were in an examination room. A doctor listened to Caleb's chest, looked in his ears, and diagnosed an ear infection. She prescribed antibiotics and children's fever reducer, then checked Isaiah and Amara to make sure they weren't sick too. The other 2 are healthy, just a little underweight, the doctor said gently. Make sure they're getting enough calories. And the ear infection should clear up with the antibiotics within a few days. Benjamin handed the doctor his insurance card. Janelle started to protest, but he shook his head. The job comes with health benefits. Consider this in advance on that. At the pharmacy, Benjamin didn't hesitate when the pharmacist rang up $200 for the medications. He pulled out a credit card and paid without blinking. Then he added children's vitamins, teething gel, and baby pain reliever to the order. You don't have to do all this, Janelle said quietly. Yes, I do. Benjamin loaded the pharmacy bags into his car, a sleek silver sedan that probably cost more than Janelle had earned in her entire life. Those babies need medicine. You need supplies. This isn't charity. This is basic human decency. The drive to the new house took 15 minutes through tree-lined streets in a neighborhood Janelle had never been able to afford. The houses here had front yards, real driveways, and cars that weren't held together with duct tape and prayer. Kids rode bikes on the sidewalks. People walked dogs. It looked like the kind of place where families actually thrived. Benjamin pulled into the driveway of a charming brick house with a red front door and a small porch. This is it. Janelle stared. This is the house? This is your house. For as long as you need it. He unlocked the front door and held it open. Janelle walked inside, still holding Isaiah and Amara, with Caleb drowsy in Benjamin's arms after his medicine. The interior took her breath away. Hardwood floors. Fresh paint. A living room with actual furniture. A kitchen with appliances that looked new. Sunlight streamed through clean windows. The air smelled like fresh paint and possibility instead of diapers and defeat. The bedrooms are upstairs, Benjamin said. The master is yours. The other 2 can be for the babies. Janelle followed him up the carpeted stairs. The master bedroom was twice the size of her entire studio apartment. It had a queen bed with a blue comforter, a dresser, and even a small desk by the window. The 2 other bedrooms were smaller but still spacious, both painted in soft yellow with closet space and overhead lights that actually worked. I know it's empty now, Benjamin said, watching Janelle's face. But the cribs and supplies I ordered will be delivered this afternoon. I got 3 cribs, high chairs, a changing table, everything the store manager recommended for triplets. Janelle felt tears threatening again. I don't know what to say. Say you'll take good care of this place. Say you'll do the job well. That's all I need to hear. I will. I promise. Benjamin smiled for the first time since she'd met him. It transformed his entire face, making him look younger, less intimidating. Good. Now, let me show you the home office setup for the property management work. They went back downstairs to a small room off the living room. It had a desk, a computer, a filing cabinet, and a printer. Everything was organized and ready to use. Your login information is in this folder. Benjamin handed her a manila folder. There are currently 18 residential properties in the portfolio. Most of them are duplexes or small apartment buildings. The tenant information, maintenance schedules, and rent collection system are all digital. I'll spend tomorrow training you on the software. Janelle sat down at the desk, still holding Isaiah, and opened the folder. She'd worked in administrative roles before the babies came. She knew how to use computers, how to organize information, how to communicate professionally. This was work she could actually do. What about Caleb, Isaiah, and Amara? She asked. How do I manage the job and take care of them? The work is flexible. As long as you respond to urgent issues within a few hours and handle the regular tasks each week, you can set your own schedule. If you need help, my mother lives nearby. She loves babies. I'm sure she'd be happy to watch them occasionally. Your mother? Margaret Hayes. She's 72 and still as sharp as ever. She volunteers at 3 different organizations and would probably adopt your triplets given half a chance. Benjamin's smile widened. Fair warning, she will absolutely spoil them rotten. Janelle couldn't help but smile back. That sounds wonderful actually. A knock on the door interrupted them. Benjamin went to answer it and returned with 2 delivery people wheeling in 3 cribs, still in their boxes. Over the next hour, more deliveries arrived. High chairs, a changing table, baby clothes in various sizes, toys, books, diapers in bulk, formula in bulk, bottles, and even a double stroller. Janelle watched in amazement as Benjamin directed the deliveries, tipped the drivers generously, and then started assembling the cribs himself. He'd taken off his suit jacket and rolled up his sleeves, revealing strong forearms as he worked with the Allen wrenches and instruction manuals. You don't have to do this, Janelle said. You've already done so much. I want to. Benjamin fitted a crib rail into place. Besides, I like putting things together. It's meditative. By early evening, all 3 cribs were assembled and set up in the 2 smaller bedrooms. One room had 2 cribs for the boys. The other had 1 crib for Amara with space for toys and a changing table. Benjamin had even hung cheerful animal prints on the walls, purchased from a store that delivered same day. Janelle fed the babies dinner in their new high chairs, amazed at how much easier it was when she had enough space to move around. The kitchen had a dishwasher that worked, a stove with all 4 burners functioning, and a refrigerator that didn't leak. It felt like a palace. After dinner, Benjamin helped give the babies their baths in the upstairs bathroom that had a real bathtub instead of the broken shower stall in her old apartment. Caleb's fever was already going down thanks to the medicine. Isaiah and Amara splashed happily in the warm water, giggling as Benjamin made funny faces at them. You're good with them, Janelle observed. Benjamin's smile faded slightly. I had a daughter once. She would have been 7 now. Would have been. She died when she was 2. Cancer. His voice was flat, controlled. My wife died a year later. Heart attack. The doctors said it was stress-related, but I think she died of a broken heart. Janelle's own heart squeezed painfully. I'm so sorry. It was 5 years ago. Benjamin lifted Isaiah out of the tub and wrapped him in a fluffy towel. I threw myself into work after that. Built my business, acquired properties, made money. But I forgot what it felt like to be around family. To have a purpose beyond just accumulating more wealth. Is that why you're doing this? Because of your daughter? Partly. He met her eyes. But also because I see myself in your situation. Not the financial part, obviously. But the struggle. The feeling of drowning. The desperation of trying to save someone you love and not having the tools to do it. I couldn't save my daughter. I couldn't save my wife. But maybe I can help you save yourself and your children. Janelle didn't know what to say to that. So she just reached out and squeezed his hand. Thank you. For all of this. For seeing me as a person instead of just a problem. Benjamin squeezed back. You're not a problem, Janelle. You're a solution I didn't know I needed. They got the babies into clean pajamas and put them to bed in their new cribs. Caleb went down easily, exhausted from the day and drowsy from medicine. Isaiah and Amara took longer, fussing because everything was new and unfamiliar. But eventually they settled too, lulled by full bellies and warm beds. Janelle stood in the doorway of Amara's room, watching her daughter sleep. The room was quiet except for the soft sound of baby breathing. Peaceful. Safe. Everything her old apartment had never been. I have something else for you, Benjamin said from behind her. She turned. He was holding a manila envelope. What's this? Your employment contract. I had my lawyer draw it up while we were at urgent care. He handed it to her. Read it carefully. If you have questions or want changes, let me know. There's no pressure. You can take a few days to think about it. Janelle opened the envelope and pulled out the contract. It was several pages long, written in legal language that she had to read slowly to understand. But the key points were clear. Position, residential property manager salary, $45,000 per year benefits. Health insurance, dental insurance, vision insurance, paid time off housing. Rent-free residence at current address as part of compensation package start date. Immediate contract term. 1 year with option to renew. There were other clauses about job duties, performance reviews and termination conditions. Everything was standard and fair. More than fair. It was generous beyond anything Janelle had dreamed possible. This is real, she whispered. It's real. And you're really offering me this? A stranger? Benjamin leaned against the doorframe. You're not a stranger anymore. You're Janelle Brooks, mother of 3, survivor of impossible odds and my new property manager. If you want to be. Janelle looked at the contract, then at the sleeping baby in the crib, then back at Benjamin. This man had walked into her worst day and turned it into her best day. He'd seen her at her lowest and offered her a hand up instead of stepping over her. She thought about all the offers she'd been given in her life. Her parents had offered to pay for her to give up the babies for adoption. Trevor had offered to help financially if she got an abortion. Her landlord had offered to give her an extension on rent if she slept with him. Every offer had come with strings, with conditions, with traps. But this offer felt different. It felt clean. Honest. Real. I don't need a few days, Janelle said. I want to accept. Right now. Where do I sign? Benjamin's face lit up. He pulled a pen from his pocket and handed it to her. Janelle signed on every line marked with an X, her hand steady despite the emotions swirling in her chest. When she finished, Benjamin co-signed as the employer. Welcome to Hayes Properties, he said, shaking her hand formally. Thank you. Janelle's voice was thick with unshed tears. Thank you for taking a chance on me. Thank you for saying yes. I think this is going to be good for both of us. Benjamin left shortly after, promising to return in the morning to start her training. Janelle locked the door behind him and walked through her new home one more time. The living room with its comfortable couch. The kitchen with its functioning appliances. The bedrooms with their sleeping babies. She sat down at the desk in the home office and opened the folder with her login information. The property management software was sophisticated but intuitive. She spent an hour familiarizing herself with it, reading through tenant files, checking maintenance requests, reviewing rent collection reports. This was work she could do. Work that mattered. Work that would support her children and give them the life they deserved. As midnight approached, Janelle finally allowed herself to climb into the queen bed in the master bedroom. The mattress was firm and comfortable. The sheets were clean and soft. The room was warm and quiet. For the first time in over a year, Janelle Brooks fell asleep feeling something she'd almost forgotten existed: hope. Morning came with sunshine streaming through curtains that actually blocked most of the light. Janelle woke slowly, disoriented for a moment by the unfamiliar room. Then memory flooded back and she sat up quickly, listening for the babies. Silence. That couldn't be right. The triplets always woke her with crying before dawn. She threw off the covers and hurried to their rooms, heart pounding. All 3 babies were still asleep, peaceful in their cribs. The rooms were the perfect temperature. The cribs were comfortable. They were simply sleeping well for the first time in months because they were finally somewhere safe and warm. Janelle leaned against the doorframe, watching them breathe. Caleb's fever was gone. Isaiah's face was relaxed instead of scrunched up in discomfort. Amara had her thumb in her mouth, her tiny chest rising and falling steadily. They were okay. More than okay. They were thriving already. A knock on the front door made Janelle jump. She glanced at the clock, 7:30 in the morning. She pulled on her red cardigan and hurried downstairs, hoping the noise wouldn't wake the babies. Benjamin stood on the porch, holding 2 large coffee cups and a paper bag. He was dressed more casually today in dark jeans and a green button-down shirt. Without the suit, he looked younger, more approachable. Good morning, he said. I brought coffee and breakfast. Hope you're hungry. Janelle stepped aside to let him in. The babies are still sleeping. That's good. Means they're comfortable. He set the coffee and bag on the kitchen counter. I got you a vanilla latte and some bagels. I wasn't sure what you liked, so I got a variety. This is perfect. Janelle wrapped her hands around the warm coffee cup, inhaling the rich aroma. Real coffee, not the instant kind she'd been surviving on. Thank you. They sat at the kitchen table and Benjamin pulled several file folders from his messenger bag. I thought we'd start with an overview of the properties today. Get you familiar with the portfolio before we dive into the software. For the next 2 hours they went through every property. Benjamin explained the tenant demographics, the maintenance histories, the rental rates. He showed her photos of each building, maps of their locations and contact information for the contractors he used for repairs. Janelle took notes, asked questions and absorbed everything. This was more responsibility than she'd had in any previous job, but it felt manageable. The system was organized, the expectations were clear, and Benjamin was patient in explaining everything. You're picking this up quickly, he observed. I like systems. I like knowing how things work. Janelle flipped through the tenant files. These people are counting on these properties to be their homes. I want to do right by them. That's exactly the attitude I was hoping for. Benjamin pulled out another folder. Now about the budget. You'll have access to an operating account for routine maintenance and repairs. Anything under $500 you can approve yourself. Anything over that needs my sign-off. What if there's an emergency? Then you call me directly, any time of day or night. I'm available. He wrote his personal cell number on a sticky note and handed it to her. I mean that. If a tenant has no heat in winter or a major leak or any safety issue, you contact me immediately. The babies started crying upstairs, their simultaneous wails signaling breakfast time. Janelle stood. I need to feed them. Mind if I help? They went upstairs together. Janelle changed diapers while Benjamin warmed bottles in the kitchen. Soon all 3 babies were in their high chairs, drinking formula and eating mashed bananas. Benjamin sat at the table with them, making silly faces that had Isaiah giggling. You really are good with children, Janelle said. I miss it. Benjamin wiped banana off Isaiah's chin. The house has been too quiet for too long. Tell me more about your daughter. If you want to. Benjamin was quiet for a moment, his hand stilling on Isaiah's head. Her name was Sophie. She had blonde hair like her mother and blue eyes like me. She loved music. We used to dance in the living room every evening before bed. She sounds beautiful. She was. His voice was soft. She was diagnosed with leukemia at 18 months. We tried everything. Chemotherapy, clinical trials, experimental treatments. But nothing worked. She died 2 weeks after her 2nd birthday. Janelle's throat tightened. I can't imagine that pain. My wife Ellen never recovered. She stopped sleeping, stopped eating. She died of a heart attack 11 months later. The doctor said her heart just gave out. She was only 32. Benjamin looked up, his eyes bright with unshed tears. I was angry for a long time. Angry at God, at the universe, at myself for not being able to save them. How did you move forward? Work, money, busyness. I built an empire to distract myself from the emptiness. He gave a sad smile. But empires are cold comfort at night. You can't hug a bank account. You can't laugh with a stock portfolio. Janelle reached across the table and took his hand. I'm glad you came to my apartment yesterday. I think we needed each other. Benjamin squeezed her hand. I think you're right. They spent the rest of the morning setting up Janelle's workstation. Benjamin walked her through the property management software, showing her how to log maintenance requests, track rent payments, communicate with tenants and schedule inspections. The system was comprehensive but user-friendly. You'll get an email notification whenever a tenant submits a request, Benjamin explained. Most of them are routine: leaky faucets, burnt-out light bulbs, stuck windows. You assess the urgency, contact the appropriate contractor, and schedule the repair. What if a tenant is difficult? Then you document everything and keep me informed. I don't tolerate tenants who are abusive to staff or who consistently violate their lease terms. But most people are reasonable if you treat them with respect. Around noon, Benjamin ordered pizza delivery. They ate lunch while the babies napped, and Janelle asked more questions about the properties. She learned that Benjamin had started with one duplex 10 years ago and had gradually built his portfolio through smart acquisitions and reinvestment. I don't believe in getting rich by exploiting people, he said. My rents are fair. I maintain the properties well. I work with tenants who are struggling. That's why I was reviewing your eviction case personally. I wanted to understand what was really happening before putting someone out. Most landlords aren't like that. I know. That's why I'm trying to be different. He took a bite of pizza. My parents were working class. My dad was a mechanic. My mom was a teacher. They taught me that wealth is a responsibility, not just a reward. After lunch, Benjamin's phone rang. He glanced at the screen and frowned. I need to take this. It's my business partner. He stepped into the living room while Janelle cleaned up the lunch dishes. She could hear his side of the conversation through the door. I told you, Richard, something came up. No, I can't explain right now. It's personal. Yes, I know the Henderson deal is important, but this is more important. Fine, I'll be there tomorrow. But I'm not apologizing for taking one day off. When Benjamin came back to the kitchen, he looked frustrated. I'm sorry. I have to go into the office this afternoon. Some contracts need my signature. That's fine. You've already given me so much of your time. I'll be back tomorrow to continue the training. And I'll bring my mother. She's dying to meet you and the babies. After Benjamin left, Janelle spent the afternoon exploring the house more thoroughly. Every closet was stocked with basic supplies: toilet paper, paper towels, cleaning products. The refrigerator and pantry had been stocked with food: milk, eggs, bread, fresh fruit, vegetables, chicken, pasta, rice. There was even baby food in the pantry and formula in the cabinet. Benjamin had thought of everything. Janelle unpacked the few belongings she'd brought from the apartment. Her clothes looked shabby hanging in the large closet of the master bedroom. Her old dishes looked chipped and worn in the new kitchen. But they were hers, familiar anchors in this strange new life. That evening she gave the babies dinner and baths, then put them to bed in their cribs. The bedtime routine was so much easier here. She had space to move, water that ran hot, lights that worked. The babies seemed calmer too, as if they could sense that things were finally stable. Janelle sat at her new desk and logged into the property management system. She read through every tenant file, familiarizing herself with names and situations. She reviewed the maintenance schedule and noted which properties were due for inspections. She checked the rent collection report and saw that most tenants paid on time, but a few were struggling. One file caught her attention: a single mother named Regina with 2 young children, behind on rent by 6 weeks. The management notes showed multiple warning letters but no explanation for the late payments. Janelle frowned. This could have been her story so easily. She drafted an email to Benjamin. Regarding tenant Regina Wilson at property B7, I'd like to reach out and see if there's a situation we can help with. Permission to contact. His response came within minutes. Yes. Use your judgment. That's why I hired you. Janelle smiled. She composed a careful email to Regina, introducing herself as the new property manager and offering to discuss a payment plan if there were financial difficulties. She kept the tone warm but professional, exactly the kind of communication she would have wanted to receive when she was struggling. Then she reviewed the upcoming maintenance requests. A broken window, 2 toilet repairs, a fence that needed replacing, and several routine inspections. She scheduled contractors for each task, prioritizing by urgency. The work felt meaningful in a way her previous jobs never had. She was helping people maintain their homes, solving problems that mattered. Around 10 that evening, Janelle finally allowed herself to relax. She made tea in the kitchen, then curled up on the living room couch with one of the books Benjamin had left on the coffee table. It was a thriller, well-worn and obviously read multiple times. She read for an hour, losing herself in someone else's story for a little while. When she finally went to bed, she felt something she hadn't felt in years: contentment. Her phone buzzed with a text message as she was settling under the covers. Benjamin, how did the first day go? Janelle, good. Really good. Thank you again for everything. Benjamin, you don't have to keep thanking me. This is a partnership, remember? I need you as much as you need this job. Janelle, still. I'm grateful. Benjamin, get some sleep. Tomorrow you meet my mother. She's intense but lovely. Fair warning, she will probably cry when she sees the babies. Janelle smiled at her phone. Looking forward to it. She set her phone on the nightstand and turned off the light. Through the wall, she could hear the soft sounds of the babies sleeping. No traffic noise. No neighbors arguing. No leaking pipes or broken heaters. Just peace. Janelle closed her eyes and let herself believe, just for a moment, that maybe things really were going to be okay. Margaret Hayes arrived at 9 the next morning in a whirlwind of energy and perfume. She was a small woman with silver hair, bright blue eyes behind stylish glasses, and a smile that transformed her entire face. She carried 2 shopping bags and wore a maroon cardigan over a floral dress. You must be Janelle, she said, pulling Janelle into a hug before she could even say hello. Benjamin told me all about you and those beautiful babies. Where are they? I need to see them immediately. Benjamin followed his mother inside, carrying a large box. Good morning to you too, Janelle. As you can see, Mom doesn't believe in subtle entrances. Subtlety is for people with time to waste. Margaret set her shopping bags on the kitchen counter. I'm 72 years old. I get straight to the point. Janelle couldn't help but laugh. The babies just woke up. They're in their cribs. Margaret didn't wait for more invitation. She headed straight upstairs, following the sound of baby babbling. Janelle and Benjamin exchanged amused glances and followed her. They found Margaret standing in the doorway of the boys' room, hands pressed to her chest, tears streaming down her face. "Oh my goodness," she whispered. "Oh my goodness, they're perfect." Caleb and Isaiah were standing in their cribs, holding the rails and bouncing on their feet. When they saw the visitors, both boys grinned and reached their arms up. "May I?" Margaret asked. "Of course," Janelle said. Margaret lifted Isaiah from his crib, and the baby immediately grabbed her glasses. She laughed, gently removing them from his grip. "You're a strong one, aren't you? And so handsome with those big brown eyes." Benjamin picked up Caleb, who was trying to climb over the crib rail. "How's your ear feeling, buddy? Better?" "He finished the antibiotics yesterday," Janelle said. "No more fever." They went to Amara's room, where the little girl was sitting in her crib, surrounded by stuffed animals. Margaret made a sound like a dying kettle. "She's beautiful," Margaret breathed. "Look at that face. Those eyelashes. Oh, Janelle, all three of them are just gorgeous." "Thank you." Margaret turned to her son, still holding Isaiah. "Benjamin Matthew Hayes, why didn't you bring me here sooner? I could have been helping from day one." "I met Janelle 2 days ago, Mom. I brought you as soon as I could." "Well, I'm here now, and these babies need their grandmother." Margaret caught herself. "If that's all right with you, Janelle. I don't want to overstep. But I've been lonely since Sophie died, and these little ones need all the love they can get." Janelle's heart squeezed. "I would be honored if you wanted to be like a grandmother to them." Then it settled. Margaret kissed Isaiah's forehead. "I'm Grandma Margaret now. And I come with free babysitting, home-cooked meals, and an extensive collection of children's books that I've been waiting 5 years to read to someone." They spent the morning playing with the babies in the living room. Margaret had brought toys, soft blocks, board books, musical instruments. The triplets were enchanted, especially with the toy piano that played different animal sounds. "I also brought food," Margaret said, pointing to her shopping bags in the kitchen. "Casseroles that just need heating up, fresh bread, cookies, and ingredients for chicken soup in case anyone gets sick." "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did. You're taking care of 3 babies and starting a new job. You need support." Margaret looked at Benjamin. "I'm coming over every Tuesday and Thursday to watch the babies while Janelle works. Non-negotiable." Benjamin grinned. "I wouldn't dream of arguing with you, Mom." Smart boy. They had lunch together, Margaret's homemade chicken salad on fresh rolls. The babies ate mashed sweet potato and yogurt, making a delightful mess that had everyone laughing. Janelle couldn't remember the last time a meal had felt this relaxed, this much like family. After lunch, Benjamin continued Janelle's training while Margaret entertained the babies. He showed her how to handle tenant complaints, how to coordinate with contractors, how to process rent payments and late fees. "The key is documentation," Benjamin explained. "Every conversation, every repair request, every payment arrangement should be recorded in the system. That protects both us and the tenants." "What about Regina Wilson?" "I emailed her yesterday about a payment plan." Benjamin pulled up her file. "She replied this morning. Her ex-husband stopped paying child support 3 months ago, and she's been struggling to cover everything on her waitress income. She wants to meet with you to discuss options. Can we set up a payment plan? Maybe reduce the late fees?" "That's your call. You're the property manager." Benjamin smiled. "But I think it's a good idea. She's been a reliable tenant for 2 years before this." Janelle felt a surge of confidence. This was exactly the kind of work she wanted to do, help people instead of just enforcing rules. She scheduled a meeting with Regina for the following afternoon. The rest of the week passed in a blur of activity. Janelle threw herself into her new role, learning the software inside and out, responding to tenant requests, coordinating repairs. She met Regina and set up a payment plan that included reduced late fees and a temporary reduction in rent while Regina sorted out her child support situation. Regina cried with relief and gratitude. "You have no idea what this means," Regina said. "I was so scared we'd lose our home." "I know exactly what it means," Janelle replied. "I was in your position not long ago. We all need help sometimes." Benjamin praised her handling of the situation. "You made a judgment call that protects both the tenant and our interests. That's good management." Margaret came every Tuesday and Thursday as promised, arriving with food and toys and boundless energy. The babies adored her. Caleb would toddle over as soon as she arrived, arms up for a hug. Isaiah loved when she sang to him. And Amara would sit in her lap for hours, content just to be held. "You're a natural grandmother," Janelle told her one afternoon. "I've been waiting to be a grandmother again." Margaret wiped her eyes. "When Sophie died, I thought that door had closed forever. And then Benjamin never remarried, never dated, just worked himself into the ground. I was so worried about him. He seems happier now." "He is. I can see it." Margaret looked at Janelle carefully. "You're good for him. Both of you are healing each other." Janelle felt heat rise in her cheeks. "We're just friends. For now." Margaret patted her hand. "But I've seen how he looks at you and these babies. He's coming back to life." Janelle didn't know what to say to that. She'd noticed Benjamin's visits becoming more frequent. He'd drop by after work to check on them, often staying for dinner. He'd play with the babies, help with bedtime, fix things around the house that didn't really need fixing. He seemed reluctant to leave, always finding one more reason to stay a little longer. And Janelle found herself looking forward to his visits. The house felt warmer when he was there. The babies laughed more. She laughed more. They'd fallen into an easy rhythm, working together on property issues during the day and sharing meals in the evening like an old married couple. But she was afraid to read too much into it. Benjamin was her boss, her benefactor, the man who had saved her from homelessness. She couldn't risk their professional relationship by developing feelings. Even if those feelings were already growing, taking root in the fertile soil of gratitude and companionship. At the end of the third week, Benjamin arrived on a Saturday morning with a surprise. A minivan. "What's this?" Janelle asked, staring at the dark blue vehicle in the driveway. "Transportation. You can't keep taking the bus with 3 babies." Benjamin dangled the keys. "It's used but reliable. The car seats are already installed." "Benjamin, I can't accept a car. It's not a gift. It's a work vehicle. You need transportation to inspect properties and meet with tenants." He pressed the keys into her hand. "Please. It's practical." Janelle looked at the van, then at the babies playing in the yard under Margaret's supervision, then back at Benjamin. "You've given me so much already. And you've given me something I thought I'd lost forever. Purpose. Family. Joy." His voice was soft. "Please stop acting like you're taking advantage of me. This is mutual." "Okay." Janelle closed her fingers around the keys. "Thank you." "You're welcome. Now how about we take it for a test drive? There's a park about 15 minutes from here with a great playground. The babies would love it." They loaded the triplets into their car seats. Margaret decided to join them and they all drove to the park. It was a beautiful late spring day, warm and sunny with a light breeze. The park had swings, slides, a sandbox and plenty of other families enjoying the weather. Janelle pushed Amara on the baby swing while Benjamin took the boys down the slide. Margaret spread a blanket under a tree and set out snacks she'd packed. Other parents smiled at them, probably assuming they were a family, grandmother, parents and 3 adorable toddlers. And for a moment, Janelle let herself pretend it was true. "They look happy," Margaret said, watching Benjamin chase Isaiah around the playground while Caleb clung to his leg. "They do. So do you." Janelle smiled. "I'm happy. For the first time in a long time, I'm actually happy." "Good. You deserve it." Margaret squeezed her hand. "All of you deserve it." As the afternoon wore on, Janelle felt something shift inside her. This wasn't just a job anymore. This wasn't just a temporary arrangement until she got back on her feet. This was becoming something deeper, something that scared her as much as it thrilled her. She was falling for Benjamin Hayes. And she had no idea if he felt the same way or if she was just reading too much into his kindness. But as she watched him lift Caleb onto his shoulders and make the boy giggle with delight, she knew one thing for certain. She didn't want this to end. What would you do if you found yourself falling for the person who saved you from your darkest moment? Is it possible to separate gratitude from genuine love? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for the next chapter where Janelle's feelings get even more complicated. The summer heat arrived in waves, but the house Benjamin had provided had central air conditioning that worked perfectly. Janelle had never lived anywhere with functional AC before. She'd spent previous summers sweating through sticky nights, using battery-powered fans that barely moved the thick air. Now the house stayed cool and comfortable, and the baby slept through the night without waking up fussy from the heat. Work was going well. Janelle had fully taken over property management responsibilities, and Benjamin's confidence in her had grown to the point where he rarely questioned her decisions. She'd successfully negotiated 3 new lease agreements, coordinated a major roof repair on one of the duplexes, and resolved a neighbor dispute that had been dragging on for months before she took over. The tenants seemed to appreciate her approach. She was firm about rent collection and property rules, but she was also compassionate about genuine hardships. She'd set up payment plans for 2 other families besides Regina, worked with contractors to keep repair costs reasonable, and responded to maintenance requests quickly and professionally. "You're a natural at this," Benjamin said one evening in July. He'd stopped by after work as he did most days now, and they were sitting on the back porch while the babies played in a kiddie pool in the yard. Margaret had gone home an hour earlier after her usual Thursday visit. "I like it. It feels meaningful." Janelle watched Caleb splash water at his brother. "I like knowing that what I do actually helps people. That's rare. Most property managers just see it as a job." Benjamin took a sip of the lemonade she'd made. "But you see it as service. Because I know what it's like to need someone to see you as a human being instead of a problem." They sat in comfortable silence for a few minutes watching the babies. Isaiah had figured out how to make the toy boats float, and he was demonstrating for Amara, who watched with serious concentration. "Can I ask you something personal?" Benjamin said finally. "Sure." "The baby's father, Trevor. Do you ever hear from him?" Janelle tensed. "No. He's been gone since I was 6 months pregnant." "Why?" "Just curious. And concerned, I guess. Legally, he could try to assert parental rights. He abandoned us. He told me to get rid of them, and when I refused, he left. Blocked my number. Refused to answer calls from the hospital when they were born." Janelle's voice hardened. "He has no rights as far as I'm concerned. Morally, I agree with you. But legally, it's more complicated. He could show up and demand visitation or even partial custody." The thought made Janelle's stomach turn. Could he really do that? After abandoning us? Unfortunately, yes. Especially if he claims he's changed and wants to be involved now. Benjamin turned to face her. "I'm not trying to scare you. I just think you should be prepared. Maybe consult with a family lawyer, establish sole custody legally." "I can't afford a lawyer. I know a good family lawyer. Let me make a call. Consider it part of your benefits package." Janelle wanted to refuse, to insist she couldn't keep taking from him. But the fear of Trevor returning and disrupting their lives was stronger than her pride. "Okay. Thank you. I'll set up a meeting for next week." Amara started crying, having slipped and fallen in the shallow water. Janelle hurried over and lifted her out, checking for injuries. The little girl was just startled, not hurt, but she clung to Janelle's neck and sobbed anyway. "You're okay, baby. Mommy's got you." Janelle rocked her gently until the crying subsided. Benjamin had lifted the boys out of the pool and was drying them with towels. "Bath time?" he suggested. They took the babies inside and started the evening routine that had become second nature. Benjamin filled the bathtub while Janelle got clean pajamas ready. They worked as a team, one person washing while the other dried and dressed. It was efficient and natural, like they'd been doing it together for years instead of weeks. After the babies were in bed, Benjamin didn't leave right away like he usually did. Instead, he helped Janelle clean up the kitchen from dinner, then followed her back out to the porch. "It's nice out here at night," he said, settling into one of the chairs. "It is." Janelle sat beside him. The sky was turning purple and orange as the sun set. Fireflies were starting to appear in the yard, little floating lights in the gathering dusk. "My wife and I used to sit outside like this," Benjamin said quietly. "After Sophie went to bed, we'd spend an hour out on our deck just talking about our days. I haven't done that with anyone since Ellen died. Do you still miss her?" "Every day. But differently now. The grief used to be sharp like broken glass. Now it's softer. More like an ache than a wound." He looked at Janelle. "You've helped with that. You and the babies. You've reminded me that life goes on, that there's still joy to be found." Janelle felt her heart speed up. "I'm glad we could help." "It's more than that." Benjamin leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. "Janelle, I need to be honest with you about something." "Okay." "When I came to your apartment that day, I was in a bad place. I'd been going through the motions of life for 5 years, making money but not really living. I was lonely. Depressed probably, though I never admitted it. I'd stopped seeing the point of everything. And now I have a reason to get up in the morning. I look forward to coming here, to seeing you and the babies, to being part of something that matters." He met her eyes. "You've changed my life, Janelle. And I think it's important that you know that." Janelle didn't know what to say. Her feelings for Benjamin had been growing steadily, but she'd been afraid to acknowledge them, afraid they were one-sided, afraid she was just transferring gratitude into something else. But the way he was looking at her now, with such openness and vulnerability, made her wonder if maybe he felt it too. "You've changed my life too," she said softly. "Obviously. You saved us. But it's more than that. You've shown me what kindness looks like, what it means to help someone without expecting anything in return. You've given me hope." "I don't want you to feel obligated to me," Benjamin said quickly, "or grateful in a way that makes you uncomfortable. Our professional relationship is important, and I don't want to mess that up." "You're not messing anything up." "Good. Because I care about you. And I care about Caleb, Isaiah, and Amara. More than I probably should, given that I'm technically your employer." Janelle smiled. "Technically. I just needed you to know where I stand. I'm not expecting anything. I just wanted to be honest." "I appreciate that." They sat together as the night deepened, talking about easier things. Property management issues, funny stories about the babies, Margaret's latest baking experiments. But something had shifted between them, an acknowledgement of feelings that hung in the air like possibility. When Benjamin finally left around 10, he hesitated at the door. "Janelle?" "Yeah. Would you and the babies like to come to my house for dinner this weekend? My mom will be there too. Nothing fancy, just a meal. A chance for you to see where I live. We'd love that." His smile was bright enough to light the porch. "Great. Saturday at 6. Perfect." After he left, Janelle locked the door and leaned against it, her heart pounding. This was happening. Whatever this was between them, it was real and growing, and she didn't know where it would lead, but for the first time in her life she wasn't afraid of the uncertainty. The rest of the week passed quickly. Janelle met with the family lawyer Benjamin had recommended, a sharp woman named Patricia who listened to her story and immediately filed paperwork to establish sole legal custody. "Trevor's abandonment works in your favor," Patricia explained. "But it's better to have the legal documentation now rather than waiting for him to show up and cause problems." Margaret came for her usual Thursday visit and immediately noticed something different. "What happened? You're glowing." "Nothing happened. Janelle Brooks, I raised a son. I know when something is up." "Spill." So Janelle told her about the conversation with Benjamin, about the dinner invitation for Saturday. Margaret's face lit up like Christmas morning. "I knew it. I told you he was falling for you. We're just friends. Friends who are falling in love." Margaret hugged her. "Oh honey, this is wonderful. Benjamin needs this. You both need this. What if it's too soon? What if I'm reading too much into it?" "Then you're reading too much into it. But I don't think you are. I've watched my son around you. He's different. Lighter. The man I knew before Ellen died is coming back." Saturday arrived with clear skies and comfortable temperatures. Janelle dressed carefully, choosing a blue sundress that Margaret had helped her buy on a shopping trip the previous week. She put the babies in matching green outfits that made them look adorable. "We're just going to dinner," she told herself in the mirror. "This is not a date. We're just friends having dinner." But her racing heart suggested otherwise. Benjamin's house was in an upscale neighborhood about 30 minutes away. It was a large 2-story home with a perfectly manicured lawn, a circular driveway, and windows that gleamed in the late afternoon sun. Janelle felt suddenly out of place, remembering the vast difference between her world and Benjamin's. But when he opened the door, his face lighting up at the sight of them, all her nervousness melted away. "Come in, come in." He took Amara from Janelle's arms and kissed the little girl's head. "Mom's already here. She's been cooking all afternoon." The interior of the house was beautiful but not ostentatious. Hardwood floors, comfortable furniture, family photos on the walls. Janelle noticed pictures of Benjamin with a blonde woman and a small girl, clearly his late wife and daughter. But instead of making the house feel sad, the photos made it feel lived in and loved. Margaret emerged from the kitchen wearing an apron covered in flour. "You're here. Perfect timing. Dinner will be ready in 20 minutes. The babies were delighted by the new space. Benjamin had set up a play area in the living room with toys and soft mats. Caleb and Isaiah immediately gravitated toward a toy train set, while Amara became fascinated with a set of stacking cups. Dinner was in a dining room with a table big enough for 8 people. Margaret had made roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, and homemade rolls. For the babies, she prepared mashed vegetables and cut up fruit. "This is amazing," Janelle said after her first bite. "Thank you, dear. I haven't cooked for a crowd in too long." Margaret beamed. "It's nice to have people to feed again." They ate and talked and laughed. Benjamin told stories about his childhood that had Margaret protesting and correcting details. Janelle shared stories about the baby's first year, the challenges and small victories. The evening felt warm and right, like they all belonged together. After dinner they moved to the living room. Margaret played with the babies while Benjamin showed Janelle around the house. He pointed out the empty bedrooms upstairs, the home office, the master bedroom with its massive windows overlooking the backyard. It's a lot of house for one person, he admitted. It's beautiful. It's lonely. He turned to face her. I bought this place thinking Ellen and I would fill it with kids. We wanted a big family. After Sophie was born we were planning to try for more. But then she got sick and everything else stopped matching. I'm sorry. Don't be. I'm telling you because I want you to understand something. Benjamin took a breath. This house has been empty for 5 years. But being with you and the babies these past 2 months, I've remembered what it feels like to want to come home. To have people waiting who actually care if you show up. Janelle's breath caught. Benjamin? I know it's fast. I know we've only known each other a short time. But I also know how I feel. He reached out and gently touched her hand. I'm falling for you, Janelle. And I'm falling in love with your children. If that's too much, if I'm moving too fast, tell me now and I'll back off. We'll keep things professional. But if there's any chance you feel the same way. Janelle looked up at him, this man who had appeared in her darkest hour and brought light. She thought about all the reasons she should be cautious, should protect herself, should keep emotional distance. But all those reasons felt hollow compared to the truth she'd been trying to ignore. I feel the same way, she whispered. Benjamin's smile was like sunrise. Yeah. I've been trying not to because you're my employer and my benefactor, and I didn't want to confuse gratitude with something else. But it's not gratitude. It's real. It's very real. He leaned down slowly, giving her time to pull away. But Janelle didn't pull away. She met him halfway and when their lips touched, it felt like everything clicked into place. The kiss was gentle, tentative, full of promise. When they pulled apart, Benjamin rested his forehead against hers. I'm not going to mess this up, he said. I promise you, Janelle, I'm going to do this right. We both are. They went back downstairs to find Margaret setting the babies up with toys, pretending not to notice their flushed faces and intertwined hands. But her knowing smile gave her away. Should I start looking at my calendar for a wedding? She asked innocently. Mom? What? I'm just asking. You're not getting any younger, Benjamin. And these babies need a father figure. Janelle laughed, the sound bubbling up from someplace deep and happy. Let's maybe get through a few more dates first. Fine. But I'm already planning the guest list in my head. As the evening wound down and Janelle prepared to take the babies home, Benjamin walked her to the minivan. Margaret had tactfully taken the babies out earlier, getting them buckled into their car seats. Thank you for tonight, Janelle said. Thank you for giving me a chance. Benjamin kissed her forehead. I'll see you tomorrow? Always. Driving home with the babies dozing in their car seats and the radio playing softly, Janelle felt something she'd never allowed herself to feel before. Completely, genuinely happy. Not just grateful or relieved or surviving, but actually happy. She thought about the woman she'd been 2 months ago, desperate and alone in that terrible apartment, convinced she'd failed her children. That woman would never have believed this was possible. But it was possible. It was real. And it was just the beginning. August brought morning thunderstorms and afternoon humidity that made the air feel heavy. But inside Janelle's house, life had settled into a comfortable rhythm. The babies had started taking their first steps, which meant constant vigilance to keep them from tumbling into things. Caleb was the most adventurous, while Isaiah preferred to crawl when he wanted speed. Amara was cautious, always looking for someone to hold her hand. Benjamin had become a fixture in their daily lives. He came over most evenings, helped with dinner and bedtime, and stayed until the babies were asleep. On weekends they went to parks, museums, the zoo. To any outsider they looked like a family. And increasingly that's what they felt like. But they still hadn't defined their relationship beyond that one kiss at his house. They held hands. They sat close. The air between them was charged with unspoken feelings. But Benjamin seemed hesitant to push forward, and Janelle wasn't sure if she should be the one to bring it up. Margaret had no such hesitations. For heaven's sake, you two are dancing around each other like nervous teenagers, she said one Thursday afternoon while Janelle was working and Margaret was watching the babies. Just talk about it. Talk about what? Don't play coy with me, young lady. You're in love with my son. He's in love with you. The babies adore him. So what's the holdup? It's complicated. It's only complicated if you make it complicated. Margaret folded a baby blanket. Life is short. Trust me, I know. Don't waste time overthinking when you could be living. That evening, Benjamin arrived with takeout from a Thai restaurant. They ate dinner while the babies made a mess with their mashed sweet potatoes. Afterward, they gave the triplets baths together, working in their usual synchronized rhythm. "You're getting good at this," Janelle observed as Benjamin dried Isaiah with a towel. "Practice makes perfect. Besides, these guys make it fun." He kissed the top of Isaiah's head. "Don't you, buddy?" After the babies were in bed, they sat in the living room. Benjamin was unusually quiet, fidgeting with his watch, clearly working up to saying something. "Benjamin? You okay?" He looked up. "Can we talk?" Janelle's stomach flipped. "Of course. I've been thinking a lot about us. About this." He gestured between them. "About where we're going." "Me too. I need you to know something. When I said I was falling for you, I wasn't just talking about romantic feelings. It's bigger than that." He leaned forward, his expression intense. "Janelle, I love you. I love your children. I want this. A family. A future." Janelle's heart hammered in her chest. "Benjamin? I know it's fast. I know people will say we're rushing. But I also know how I feel. I've been in love before. I know what it looks like, what it feels like. And this is it." He reached for her hands. "You've brought me back to life. Before I met you, I was existing, not living. Now I wake up excited for the day. I go to sleep grateful for what I have. That's all because of you." Tears pricked Janelle's eyes. "I love you too. I've been trying not to, trying to be practical, trying to protect myself. But I can't help it. You're everything I didn't know I needed." Benjamin moved closer, cupping her face in his hands. "Then let's stop pretending this is casual. Let's be honest about what this is." "What is it?" "It's love. Real, committed, build a life together love." He kissed her gently. "I want you to be mine. I want those babies to be mine. I want us to be a family officially." "Are you asking me to marry you?" "Not yet. I want to do that properly with a ring and a plan. But I am asking you to be my girlfriend, to take this relationship seriously, to see where it goes." He smiled. "Even though I already know where it's going. I'm going to marry you, Janelle Brooks. Maybe not tomorrow, but soon. So you might as well get used to the idea." Janelle laughed through her tears. "That's awfully confident of you. I'm a confident man when I know what I want." He kissed her again, deeper this time. "So what do you say? Will you be mine?" "Yes. Absolutely yes." They spent the rest of the evening on the couch talking about everything and nothing. Benjamin told her about his plans to expand his real estate business, how he wanted her input on which properties to acquire next. Janelle shared her ideas for improving tenant services, maybe starting a program to help struggling renters before they got behind on payments. "You're brilliant," Benjamin said, pulling her close. "Seriously. These ideas could change the way people approach property management." "You really think so?" "I know so. You see people, not just numbers. That's rare in business." Around midnight, Benjamin finally stood to leave. They kissed goodbye at the door, and Janelle felt like a teenager again, dizzy and giddy and completely smitten. "I'll call you tomorrow," he said. "You always do." "Yeah, but now it's official. I'm your boyfriend. I get to be obnoxiously present in your life." Janelle grinned. "I'm looking forward to it." Over the next few weeks, their relationship deepened. Benjamin introduced her to his business partner, Richard, who was cordial but clearly skeptical. "Are you sure about this?" Richard asked Benjamin during a meeting that Janelle accidentally overheard. "It's a lot of responsibility taking on a woman with 3 kids." "I'm not taking on anything," Benjamin replied coolly. "I'm building a life with someone I love. There's a difference." Benjamin's friends were warmer. A couple named Pamela and George invited them to a barbecue, where Janelle met several other families with young children. The kids played together while the adults talked and ate. For the first time, Janelle felt like she fit into Benjamin's world. "You're good for him," Pamela said quietly while they watched the children. "Benjamin was lost after Ellen died. We all tried to help, but he shut everyone out. You brought him back." "He brought me back too," Janelle replied. "Then you're perfect for each other." Margaret hosted Sunday dinners that became a weekly tradition. She'd cook elaborate meals while Benjamin and Janelle kept the babies entertained. After dinner, they'd sit around the table talking for hours, building the kind of family bonds that Janelle had never experienced growing up. Work continued to go well. Janelle had become so efficient at property management that Benjamin gave her additional responsibilities, including scouting potential new acquisitions. She accompanied him to property viewings, offering insights about tenant appeal and renovation needs. You have great instincts, Benjamin told her after she suggested passing on a property he'd been considering. That building had hidden structural issues I didn't catch. I just looked at the foundation and thought about what would need fixing. It wasn't worth the price. See? Brilliant. But their happiness had an undercurrent of tension that neither wanted to acknowledge. Trevor. The legal proceedings for sole custody were moving forward, but Patricia had warned them that Trevor would have to be notified. He has the right to contest, she explained. And if he does, this could get complicated. The notification went out in early September. Janelle tried not to think about it, tried to focus on her life with Benjamin and the babies. But in the back of her mind, she was terrified that Trevor would appear and destroy everything she'd built. Her fears proved justified when, on a Wednesday afternoon, Patricia called with bad news. Trevor filed a response. He's contesting the sole custody petition. He wants joint custody and is claiming he's ready to be a father. Janelle felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. How can he claim that? He abandoned us. I know. And we have documentation to prove it. But the courts generally favor parental involvement, even from absent parents who claim they want to change. Patricia's voice was sympathetic but realistic. We're going to fight this, Janelle. But you need to prepare yourself for the possibility that Trevor might get some level of custody or visitation. When Benjamin arrived that evening, Janelle was crying. The babies sensed her distress and were fussy, making everything worse. Benjamin took one look at the situation and immediately took charge. Tell me what happened, he said while picking up Caleb. Janelle explained through her tears. Benjamin's expression hardened. He doesn't get to do this. He doesn't get to waltz back in after abandoning you and claim he deserves these children. The lawyer says he has rights. Then we fight. We document everything. We prove he's unfit. Benjamin's voice was fierce. I'm not going to let him hurt you or these babies. I promise you, Janelle, we're going to win this. What if we don't? Then we deal with it. Together. He pulled her close, careful not to squish Caleb between them. I'm not going anywhere. Whatever happens, I'm here. You're not alone in this. That night, after the babies were asleep, Benjamin sat with Janelle and helped her write down every detail of Trevor's abandonment. The dates, the conversations, the refusal to help financially or emotionally. They compiled bank records showing she'd received no child support, phone records showing he'd blocked her number, and text messages from when she was pregnant where he demanded she get rid of the problem. This is good evidence, Benjamin said, reviewing the documents. It shows a clear pattern of abandonment and refusal to be involved. What if the judge doesn't care? The judge will care. Trust me. He kissed her forehead. And even if Trevor gets supervised visitation, that doesn't change what we have. He can't take that away. Janelle wanted to believe him. But the fear sat in her chest like a weight, heavy and cold. She'd worked so hard to build a life for her children, to give them stability and safety. The thought of Trevor disrupting that, of him getting any claim to the babies he'd wanted her to abort, made her physically sick. I need you to be honest with me, she said quietly. Does this change anything? For us. What do you mean? I mean, you're signing up for a lot of drama. A custody battle, a complicated ex, potential legal issues. That's not what you signed up for when you hired me. Benjamin pulled back and looked at her seriously. Janelle, listen to me. I fell in love with you knowing your situation. I fell in love with Caleb, Isaiah, and Amara knowing their father might resurface. None of this is a surprise. And none of it changes how I feel. You're sure? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. He took her hands. We're in this together. Whatever comes, we face it as a team. Trevor doesn't get to break us. The courts don't get to break us. Nothing breaks us. Janelle leaned into his chest, letting his strength shore up her own. I'm scared. I know. But you're also brave. Look at everything you've survived already. You can survive this too. He stroked her hair. And you don't have to survive it alone. You have me. You have my mom. You have Patricia. You have an army of people who love you and these babies. Why are you so good to me? Because you deserve it. Because I love you. Because building a life with you is the best thing I've done since Sophie was born. He pulled back to look at her. You're not a charity case or a project, Janelle. You're the woman I love. The woman I want to build a future with. Trevor showing up doesn't change that. If anything, it makes me more determined to protect what we have. Janelle kissed him, pouring all her gratitude and love and fear into it. When they broke apart, she felt steadier, more grounded. Okay, she said. Let's fight. That's my girl. They spent the next few weeks preparing for the custody hearing. Patricia gathered evidence, interviewed witnesses, and built a comprehensive case showing Trevor's abandonment and Janelle's capable parenting. Margaret wrote a character reference. Benjamin wrote one too, detailing his observations of Janelle's dedication to her children. Through it all, Benjamin was a constant presence. He came over every night, helped with the babies, held Janelle when she cried, and reminded her that she was strong enough to handle this. "I don't know what I'd do without you," she told him one night. "You do exactly what you've always done, survive and thrive. But you don't have to find out because I'm not going anywhere." The night before the custody hearing, Benjamin stayed late. After the babies were asleep, they sat on the back porch under the stars. "Whatever happens tomorrow," Benjamin said, "I want you to know something." "What?" "I'm planning to marry you. I know we haven't talked timelines or specifics, but I want you to know my intentions are serious. I want to adopt Caleb, Isaiah, and Amara. I want us to be a family legally and officially." Janelle's breath caught. "You want to adopt them?" "Of course I do. They're already mine in every way that matters. I want to make it official." He turned to face her. "I know we need to deal with this custody situation first. But after that's settled, I'm going to ask you to marry me properly. And when you say yes, we're going to build the life we both deserve." "When I say yes." "Pretty confident." Benjamin grinned. "I know what I know." Janelle laughed, feeling lighter despite the heavy day ahead. "You're ridiculous." "I'm in love." "There's a difference." They sat together in comfortable silence, holding hands and watching the stars. Tomorrow would bring challenges. But tonight, in this moment, they had each other. And that was enough. The family courthouse was a gray building with two bright fluorescent lights and walls that seemed designed to drain hope. Janelle sat in a hard plastic chair outside the courtroom, flanked by Benjamin on one side and Patricia on the other. Her hands were shaking, so Benjamin held them, rubbing warmth into her cold fingers. "We've got this," he murmured. "Remember, you're a great mother. That's what matters." Across the hallway, Trevor sat with his own lawyer. This was the first time Janelle had seen him in almost 2 years, and the sight of him made her stomach twist. He looked the same, handsome in a polished way with dark skin, close-cut hair, and an expensive suit that probably cost more than Janelle used to make in a month. He'd always been good at appearances. He caught her looking and had the audacity to smile. Janelle looked away, gripping Benjamin's hand tighter. "You don't have to look at him," Benjamin said. "Focus on me." The courtroom doors opened and they were called inside. Judge Winters was a middle-aged black woman with kind eyes and an expression that suggested she'd seen every variation of family drama imaginable. Patricia presented their case methodically. She documented Trevor's absence during the pregnancy, his demand that Janelle terminate, his blocking of her calls, his complete lack of financial support. She presented text messages, phone records, bank statements, medical bills that Janelle had paid alone. "Your Honor," Patricia concluded, "Mr. Foster abandoned Miss Brooks and these children when it was convenient for him. He has never met his children, never contributed $1 to their care, never once checked to see if they were alive or healthy. His sudden interest in custody coincides suspiciously with his learning that Miss Brooks is in a stable relationship with a financially secure partner." Trevor's lawyer, a slick man in a charcoal suit, immediately objected. "Your Honor, my client freely admits he made mistakes. But he was young and scared. He spent the past 2 years getting his life together, building a career and preparing himself to be a father. People change. People grow. Mr. Foster deserves a chance to prove himself." "Has he paid any child support?" Judge Winters asked. "He was never ordered to pay support. Because Miss Brooks couldn't afford to file for it," Patricia interjected. "She was too busy working 2 jobs and keeping 3 babies alive to hire a lawyer." The hearing went on for 2 hours. Trevor testified, spinning a story about being overwhelmed and making poor choices, but claiming he'd always loved his children from afar and wanted a relationship with them now. He talked about his new job as a marketing executive, his stable apartment, his readiness to co-parent. When it was Janelle's turn to testify, she felt Benjamin's eyes on her, steady and supportive. She told the truth. About Trevor's abandonment, about the desperation of those early months, about rebuilding her life with the help of people who actually cared. "And who is Mr. Hayes to you?" the judge asked, looking at Benjamin. "He's my employer. And my boyfriend. And the man who's been more of a father to my children in 3 months than their biological father has been in their entire lives." Trevor's lawyer tried to make something sinister of Benjamin's presence. "Isn't it true that Mr. Hayes has significant control over your life? He employs you, houses you, and supports you financially. How can you claim to be making independent decisions about your children when you're dependent on him? Benjamin tensed beside her, but Patricia smoothly objected. Relevance, Your Honor. Miss Brooks' employment and housing situation have no bearing on Mr. Foster's abandonment of his children. Judge Winters sustained the objection, but the damage was done. The implication hung in the air. Was Janelle capable of making decisions, or was she just doing whatever Benjamin wanted? When they broke for lunch, Janelle was exhausted. Benjamin pulled her into an empty hallway. You did great, he said. They're making it sound like I'm your puppet. They're reaching because they don't have a real case. Trevor abandoned his kids. That's the bottom line. Benjamin cupped her face. The judge sees that. I could tell from her questions. Margaret arrived during the lunch break, having taken the morning off from her volunteer work. She hugged Janelle fiercely. How's it going? Hard to tell, Patricia said. But I think we're in a good position. Trevor's lawyer is trying to paint a redemption narrative, but the facts are on our side. The afternoon session focused on the children's best interests. A court-appointed guardian ad litem had visited Janelle's house the previous week and interviewed both Janelle and Benjamin. The guardian's report was glowing. The home was safe and loving, the children were thriving, Janelle was a devoted and capable mother. But the guardian had also noted that children benefit from relationships with both biological parents when possible, and recommended that Trevor be given a chance at supervised visitation if he completed parenting classes and maintained stable employment for 6 months. That's reasonable, Benjamin whispered to Janelle. I don't want him near them. I know. But supervised visitation is manageable. It means he can't take them. He can't hurt them. And if he flakes out, which he probably will, we have documentation. Judge Winters asked Janelle directly, Miss Brooks, what outcome are you hoping for today? Janelle stood. Your Honor, I want sole legal and physical custody of my children. Trevor had every opportunity to be involved. He chose not to. He told me to get rid of these babies. He abandoned us when we needed him most. I don't trust him to suddenly be a good father just because it's convenient now. And if I order supervised visitation? Janelle took a breath, feeling Benjamin's support even from across the room. Then I'll comply with the court's order. But I want it on record that these children don't know Trevor. To them he's a stranger. And I will do everything in my power to protect them from being hurt. Trevor's face reddened, but his lawyer restrained him from speaking. Judge Winters looked between both parties, then at the documents spread before her. Finally she spoke. I've reviewed the evidence and listened to testimony. Here's what I see. Mr. Foster made a choice to abandon his responsibilities. That choice had real consequences for Miss Brooks and these children. She was left to struggle alone while he moved on with his life. Trevor's lawyer started to object, but the judge held up a hand. However, I also believe that people can change. Mr. Foster claims he's ready to be a father. I'm willing to give him a chance to prove that, but on very specific terms. She outlined her ruling. Janelle would have sole legal and physical custody. Trevor would be granted supervised visitation rights, contingent on him completing a court-ordered parenting program, maintaining stable employment for 6 months, and paying child support retroactively and going forward. The visitation would be supervised by a court-appointed monitor, and Trevor would be responsible for all associated costs. If Mr. Foster completes these requirements successfully and demonstrates genuine commitment to his children's well-being, we can revisit the custody arrangement in 1 year. But until then, Miss Brooks maintains full custody. It wasn't everything Janelle wanted, but it was close. Trevor would have limited, supervised access, which meant he couldn't disrupt their lives or endanger the children. And the requirements were steep enough that Janelle doubted he'd follow through. Thank you, Your Honor, she managed to say. Outside the courthouse, Patricia explained the details. Supervised visitation means Trevor can't take the children anywhere. He visits at a designated facility with a monitor present. If he misses visits or behaves inappropriately, we document it and can petition to terminate his rights entirely. And the child support? Based on his income, he'll owe about $1,200 a month going forward, plus retroactive payments for the past 2 years. That's nearly $30,000. Benjamin whistled. He won't be happy about that. Too bad, Margaret said fiercely. He should have thought about consequences before abandoning his children. Janelle felt numb as they walked to the parking lot. Benjamin kept his arm around her, steady and present. When they reached the car, she finally let herself cry. It's over, Benjamin said, holding her. You won. Sole custody. But he still gets to see them. Supervised. For now. And my guess is he'll quit showing up within a few months. Men like Trevor don't stick around when things require actual effort. What if he does stick around? What if he becomes a real presence in their lives? Benjamin pulled back to look at her. Then we deal with it. Together. But he's never going to be their real father, Janelle. That role is taken. She understood what he was saying. Benjamin had been there for every milestone over the past few months. First steps, first words, first teeth. He'd walked the floor with feverish babies, changed countless diapers and played endless games of peekaboo. He was already their father in every way that mattered. Let's go home, she said. They picked up the babies from Margaret's house, where she'd been watching them during the hearing. Caleb, Isaiah, and Amara launched themselves at Janelle, babbling excited nonsense about their day with Grandma Margaret. Benjamin scooped up all three of them, making them shriek with laughter. Daddy, Amara said clearly. Everyone froze. It was the first time she'd said the word. Benjamin's eyes filled with tears. He looked at Janelle, silently asking for permission. She nodded, her own eyes blurring. That's right, sweet girl, Benjamin said softly. Daddy's here. Caleb and Isaiah, not wanting to be left out, started chanting, Daddy, 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 until Benjamin was laughing and crying at the same time. Margaret dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. Well, I guess that settles that. They took the babies home. After dinner and baths, Benjamin helped put them to bed. Amara wouldn't let go of his hand until she was fully asleep. Standing in the doorway watching Benjamin with her daughter, Janelle felt her heart expanding with love so fierce it almost hurt. Thank you, she whispered when they were back downstairs. For what? For loving them. For loving us. For being here. Janelle, there's nowhere else I'd rather be. He pulled her close. I meant what I said before. These are my kids now. And you're going to be my wife. We're building something permanent. Trevor might complicate that. Let him try. He doesn't get to undo what we have. Benjamin tilted her chin up. I'm going to adopt them, Janelle. Legally. Once we're married, I'm going to make them Hayes kids. And Trevor can have his supervised visits, but he'll never be their real father. That's me. Janelle kissed him, pouring everything she felt into it. When they broke apart, she rested her head against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. I love you, she said. I love you too. All four of you. The next morning, Benjamin took Janelle to meet his business partner properly. Richard had invited them to lunch at an upscale restaurant downtown. He greeted them with handshakes and professional smiles, but Janelle could sense his reservations. Over lunch, Richard asked pointed questions about Janelle's background, her work experience, her plans for the future. Benjamin deflected most of them, but Janelle decided to address the elephant in the room directly. You're worried Benjamin is making a mistake, she said. Richard blinked, surprised by her directness. I wouldn't put it that way. But that's what you're thinking. You're worried he's letting his emotions override good judgment. Benjamin is my friend. I don't want to see him get hurt. Neither do I. Janelle set down her fork. Look, I get it. From the outside this looks crazy. Rich guy meets struggling single mother, gives her a job and a house, falls in love in a few months. It sounds like a fairy tale or a disaster waiting to happen. It does, Richard admitted. But here's what you're not seeing. Benjamin saved my life, but I saved his too. He was miserable before he met us. Lonely. Going through the motions. Ask his mother if you don't believe me. I have asked her. She agrees with you. Then trust her judgment. Trust Benjamin's judgment. I'm not using him. I'm not after his money. I'm just a woman who fell in love with a good man who happened to come into my life when I needed him most. Richard was quiet for a moment, studying her. Then he smiled, genuine warmth finally breaking through. You're tougher than I expected. I've had to be. Fair enough. He extended his hand across the table. Welcome to the team, Janelle. For what it's worth, I think Benjamin is lucky to have you. She shook his hand. Thank you. The rest of lunch was easier. Richard asked about the property management work, and Janelle shared her ideas for tenant support programs. By the time they left, Richard had invited her to sit in on their next business strategy meeting. He likes you, Benjamin said in the car. He was testing me. And you passed. Benjamin grinned. You're good at winning people over. I just told the truth. That's why it worked. That evening, Benjamin brought a surprise. Architectural plans for house modifications. What's this? Janelle asked, unrolling the blueprints. Plans to convert one of the spare rooms upstairs into a proper nursery and playroom. The babies are getting bigger. They need more space. He pointed to various features. Built-in storage, soft flooring, better lighting. I thought we could do the renovation next month. Benjamin, you don't have to keep spending money on us. I'm not spending money on you. I'm investing in our future. He pulled her onto his lap. This is our house now, Janelle. Yours and mine and the baby's. I want it to be perfect for us. It's already perfect. It can be more perfect. He kissed her neck. Besides, I like doing this. Planning, building, creating a home. It makes me happy. Janelle relaxed against him. Okay. Let's do it. Yeah. Make this house into everything we need. I will. I promise. They spent the evening going over the plans, discussing paint colors and furniture options. Benjamin was animated in a way she'd never seen, excited about building something tangible for their family. Watching him, Janelle realized this was healing for him too, creating a home after losing his first family, building something new from the ashes of his grief. When Benjamin finally left that night, Janelle stood at the door and watched him walk to his car. He turned back and blew her a kiss, making her laugh. This was real. This was happening. And despite Trevor's reappearance and the custody battle and all the complications, she was happier than she'd ever been. Life wasn't perfect, but it was good. And that was more than enough. The first supervised visitation was scheduled for a Wednesday afternoon 2 weeks after the court ruling. Janelle drove to the family visitation center with all 3 babies in the back seat, her stomach in knots. Benjamin had offered to come, but Patricia advised against it. Let Trevor see that you can handle this independently, she'd said. Don't give him ammunition to claim you're being controlled. The visitation center was a cheerful building with bright murals on the walls and toys scattered throughout. A monitor named Sheila greeted Janelle with a warm smile and explained the process. You'll bring the children to the visitation room. Mr. Foster is already here. You don't have to stay or interact with him. I'll be in the room the entire time taking notes. The visit is 1 hour. What if the babies cry? They don't know him. That's normal. If they're extremely distressed, we can end the visit early. But usually, children adapt quickly. Janelle carried Amara while Caleb and Isaiah toddled beside her, holding her hands. Inside the visitation room, Trevor sat on a mat surrounded by toys. He looked nervous, which gave Janelle a small measure of satisfaction. Hi, he said awkwardly. The baby stared at him, clearly uncertain. Trevor reached for Caleb, who immediately backed into Janelle's legs. It's okay, Janelle told her son, even though it felt like a lie. He's here to play with you. She couldn't bring herself to call Trevor their father. The word belonged to Benjamin now. Sheila gently encouraged Janelle to step back. The babies will be fine. You can wait in the lobby. Leaving them felt like ripping off her own skin. But Janelle forced herself to walk out of the room. She sat in the lobby, watching the clock and trying not to imagine all the ways this could go wrong. 40 minutes in, Sheila came out. They're doing okay. Caleb and Isaiah are playing with blocks. Amara is still a bit clingy, but she's warming up. Is Trevor being appropriate? Yes, he's trying. He's not a natural with kids, but he's making an effort. When the hour was up, Janelle practically ran to the room. All 3 babies immediately reached for her, clearly relieved to see her. Trevor looked defeated. They hate me, he said. They don't know you, Janelle replied coolly. That's what happens when you abandon children. I'm trying to fix that. A little late. Sheila cleared her throat. Let's focus on the positive. The children warmed up somewhat. Next time will be easier. Janelle gathered the babies and left without another word to Trevor. In the car, she called Benjamin immediately. How did it go? He asked. It was awful. Watching him with them, knowing he threw us away and now gets to play nice for an hour. It made me sick. Did he hurt them? No. He barely knew what to do with them. But that's almost worse. He has no idea how to be a father because he never bothered to try. Come over to my house, Benjamin said. Mom's here. We'll have dinner and you can decompress. At Benjamin's house, Margaret took the babies immediately, sensing Janelle needed space. Benjamin led her to the back porch and pulled her into a hug. I hate this, Janelle said into his chest. I know. I hate that he gets any time with them. I hate that the court thinks he deserves a chance. I hate all of it. But you did it. You got through the first visit. Benjamin stroked her hair. And every visit he shows up to means nothing because we're the ones raising them. We're the ones they love. Amara called you daddy again this morning. Benjamin smiled. I know. She told me while you were getting ready. She's never going to call Trevor that. Good. They stood together until Janelle felt calm enough to face the evening. Inside, Margaret had set out dinner and was feeding the babies in their high chairs. She'd made pasta and salad, comfort food that Janelle appreciated. "How are you really doing?" Margaret asked once the babies were occupied with their food. "I'm angry," Janelle admitted. "I know I should be bigger than that, should rise above it. But I'm just so angry that Trevor gets to disrupt our lives after everything he did." "You're allowed to be angry. Anger is valid." Margaret squeezed her hand. "But don't let it consume you. Trevor only has power if you give it to him." "Your mom's right," Benjamin added. "We control what matters. Our home, our relationship, our family. Trevor gets 1 hour a week under supervision. That's it." Over the next month, the visits continued. Trevor showed up to everyone, which surprised everyone. He was awkward and uncertain with the babies, but he came. He brought toys, tried to engage them in play, and asked Sheila questions about child development. "He's actually trying," Sheila reported after the 4th visit. "The children are more comfortable with him now." Janelle didn't want to hear it. She didn't want Trevor to succeed. She wanted him to fail and disappear so they could move on without his shadow hanging over them. But Benjamin had a different perspective. If he actually becomes a decent father, that's good for the kids. More people loving them is never a bad thing. "You're too generous." "I'm practical. And confident." He pulled her close. "Trevor can have his supervised visits. But I'm the one they run to when they wake up. I'm the one they call daddy. I'm the one building a life with you." He's a footnote, Janelle. We're the story. The house renovation started in October. Contractors converted the largest spare bedroom into a combination nursery and playroom, with 3 toddler beds, built-in storage for toys, soft foam flooring, and bright paint in shades of yellow and green. Benjamin supervised every detail, making sure everything was perfect. "This is going to be amazing," he said, watching the contractors install the flooring. Janelle surveyed the room, imagining her children playing here, sleeping here, growing here. "It's more than I ever dreamed. Get used to it. I plan on spoiling you and these kids for the rest of our lives." "That's a long time." Benjamin smiled. "I'm counting on it." One evening in late October, after the babies were asleep in their new room, Benjamin took Janelle's hand and led her to the back porch. The air was crisp and cool, autumn settling in with golden leaves and early sunsets. "I need to tell you something," he said. Janelle's heart jumped. "Okay. I've been thinking about our future. About what comes next." "And?" Benjamin pulled a small box from his pocket. Janelle's breath caught. "I know I said I'd wait for the perfect moment, the perfect plan. But here's what I've realized. Every moment with you is perfect. Every day is the right day." He opened the box, revealing a simple but beautiful diamond ring. "Janelle Brooks, will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Janelle's face. "Yes. Of course yes." Benjamin slid the ring onto her finger, then pulled her into a kiss that tasted like forever. When they broke apart, they were both crying and laughing. "I love you so much," Benjamin said. "I love you too. I can't believe this is real." "It's real. We're real. And we're going to build an amazing life together." They went inside to tell Margaret, who cried and hugged them both. "I knew it. I've been waiting for this since June." "We're getting married," Janelle said, still in shock. "Finally. Now I can start planning the wedding." "Mom, we just got engaged 10 minutes ago." "No time to waste. I have ideas." They celebrated with wine and leftover cake, talking late into the night about wedding plans and the future. Benjamin wanted a wedding soon, maybe before the end of the year. Janelle wanted something simple, just close family and friends. "Whatever you want," Benjamin said. "As long as I get to marry you, I don't care about the details." When Janelle finally went home that night, wearing her engagement ring and floating on happiness, she felt like she'd stepped into someone else's life. 5 months ago, she'd been desperate and broken, facing eviction and homelessness. Now she was engaged to an incredible man, living in a beautiful house, raising her children in safety and comfort. But that night, her phone rang with an unknown number. Against her better judgment, she answered. "Janelle, it's Trevor." Her stomach dropped. "How did you get this number?" "That doesn't matter. I need to talk to you. We have nothing to discuss outside of the visitation schedule. Please. Just 5 minutes." His voice was different, less arrogant, more genuine. "I know I don't deserve it, but I'm asking anyway." Janelle almost hung up. But curiosity and the lingering hope that maybe he'd leave them alone kept her on the line. "Fine. 5 minutes. I wanted to say I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything and I know it's too late. But I need you to know that I regret everything. Leaving you, abandoning the kids, all of it." "Okay. I was scared." That's not an excuse, I know. But when you told me you were having triplets, I panicked. I wasn't ready to be a father to one kid, let alone 3. So I ran. You didn't just run. You told me to get rid of them. I know. That was unforgivable. Trevor's voice cracked. I've spent the past year in therapy working through my issues, trying to become someone worthy of being a parent. I know I can never make up for what I did. But I want to try. Janelle was quiet, processing his words. Part of her wanted to believe him, to think people really could change. But the bigger part, the part that had survived his abandonment, remained skeptical. What do you want from me, Trevor? Nothing. I'm not asking for more time with the kids or changes to the custody arrangement. I just wanted you to know that I'm trying. And that I'm happy you found someone who treats you and the children right. You've been stalking me? No. The visitation monitor mentioned your fiancé picks you up sometimes. And I've seen the way the kids light up when they talk about their daddy. He paused. I'm glad they have that. I'm glad you have that. You deserve better than what I gave you. Janelle didn't know what to say. She'd expected anger or demands, not this raw vulnerability. Okay, she said finally. Thank you for calling. That's it? No yelling? I'm too happy to waste energy on anger. I have a good life now, Trevor. A great life. You can't touch that. I don't want to touch it. I just want to be allowed on the periphery. To know my kids even just a little. Then keep showing up to visits. Keep paying child support. Keep trying. Maybe someday the kids will want a relationship with you. But that's their choice to make, not yours or mine. That's fair. Trevor sounded relieved. Thank you, Janelle. For giving me even this much. After they hung up, Janelle sat in the dark living room, processing the conversation. She didn't trust Trevor's sudden transformation. People didn't change that easily. But maybe, just maybe, he was sincere. And if he genuinely wanted to be a positive presence in the children's lives, she could accept that. Because Margaret had been right. More people loving her children was never a bad thing. But Trevor would never be what Benjamin was. He'd never be daddy. He'd never be the man who showed up every day, who loved without conditions, who built a life with them. Janelle looked at her engagement ring, sparkling in the dim light. This was her future. This was her family. And nothing and no one was going to take that away. The wedding date was set for the first Saturday in December. They chose a small venue, a botanical garden with a glass conservatory that would be decorated with white flowers and fairy lights. Margaret took charge of planning with the efficiency of a military general, organizing everything from catering to flowers to music. I've been waiting 5 years to do this, she explained when Janelle expressed concern about all the work. Let me have my fun. Benjamin was content to let his mother run the show as long as the important details were right. Janelle would be his wife, and the babies would officially become his children through adoption proceedings that Patricia had already started filing. November brought cooler weather and preparations for the wedding. Janelle found a simple white dress that made her feel beautiful. Benjamin ordered a navy suit. Margaret designed matching outfits for the triplets. A tiny suit for Caleb, a vest and bow tie for Isaiah, and a white dress for Amara. Trevor continued his supervised visits, showing up consistently and making slow progress with the children. Caleb had started waving goodbye to him. Isaiah would occasionally let Trevor hold him. Amara remained the most resistant, but even she was beginning to warm up. He's really trying, Sheila reported. He completed his parenting classes and is paying child support on time. The children are adjusting. Janelle shared this with Benjamin one evening while they were reviewing adoption paperwork. How do you feel about it? He asked. Conflicted. Part of me is glad he's being responsible. But another part resents that he gets credit for doing the bare minimum. That's valid. Benjamin set down the papers. But here's what matters. When the adoption goes through, I'll be their legal father. Trevor can visit, but he won't have legal rights anymore. You okay with that? More than okay. These kids need one dad, not two. And you're their dad. Good. Because I love them like they're my own blood. The adoption process required a home study, interviews, and background checks. A social worker named Carol visited their house, asking questions about their relationship, their plans for the future, and how Benjamin intended to parent the children. These kids are lucky, Carol said after observing Benjamin play with the triplets for an hour. They clearly adore you. I adore them right back, Benjamin replied, Amara asleep in his arms. 2 weeks before the wedding, Trevor called Janelle again. This time she almost didn't answer. But something made her pick up. I want to come to the wedding, Trevor said without preamble. Janelle's first instinct was to laugh. Absolutely not. Hear me out. I know it sounds crazy, but I want to be there when the kids officially get a father. It feels important. Important to who? You. This isn't about you, Trevor. This is about our family. I know that. That's why I want to be there. To witness it. To see them happy. He paused. And maybe to find closure for myself. To officially let go of what I gave up. Janelle didn't respond immediately. The request was bizarre, but there was something in Trevor's voice that sounded genuine. Let me talk to Benjamin, she said finally. Benjamin's initial reaction was the same as Janelle's. Absolutely not. But after thinking about it, he reconsidered. If he's serious about being a positive presence in their lives, maybe this is a way to establish boundaries clearly, Benjamin reasoned. He attends as a guest, sees us become a family, and understands that his role is secondary. You're sure? No. But I trust your judgment. If you think it's the right call, I'll support it. Janelle called Trevor back. You can come. But you sit in the back. You don't approach us or the children. You're there to observe, nothing more. Thank you. Seriously, thank you. And Trevor? If you cause any drama, any problems at all, you'll never see those kids again. Supervised visits or not, I'll find a way to protect them from you. I understand. I won't cause problems. I promise. The week before the wedding, Janelle finalized her guest list. Just 20 people total. Benjamin's list was equally small. They weren't going for a big production, just an intimate celebration with the people they loved. Margaret finished the last details, and Patricia confirmed that the adoption paperwork would be finalized within a week of the wedding. Everything was falling into place. On the Thursday before the wedding, Janelle was working at her desk when she got an email from Regina, the tenant she'd helped with a payment plan months earlier. The subject line read, "Thank you. I wanted you to know that I got promoted at work," Regina wrote. "I'm caught up on rent and even have savings now. None of this would have been possible without your kindness and patience. You gave me hope when I needed it most. Thank you for seeing me as a person, not just a problem." Janelle read the email 3 times, tears streaming down her face. This was why the work mattered. This was why Benjamin's approach to property management was different and better. She forwarded the email to Benjamin with a note. "This is what we're building. Not just a business but a way of helping people." His response came immediately, "I'm so proud of you. This is all you." That evening Benjamin arrived with pizza and news. "I met with my lawyer today about expanding the business. I want to start a nonprofit, a housing assistance program for families in crisis, using your model of providing temporary housing and job support." Janelle stared at him. "You're serious?" "Completely. You've shown me how much impact one person can have. Imagine if we scaled that up, helped dozens of families, hundreds eventually. That would be amazing. I want you to run it. After we're married, after things settle, I want this to be your project. Your legacy." "Benjamin, I don't know what to say." "Say yes. Say you'll help me build something that matters." "Yes. Absolutely yes." They spent the evening planning, sketching ideas for the nonprofit, discussing funding sources and program structures. The babies played around them, occasionally demanding attention, but mostly content to let their parents dream. "We're going to change lives," Benjamin said. "We already have," Janelle replied, thinking of Regina and the other tenants she'd helped. "Then we'll change more." The night before the wedding, Margaret insisted on a girls' night. She took Janelle and the babies to her house for dinner, pampering, and last-minute wedding preparations. "Are you nervous?" Margaret asked while painting Janelle's nails a soft pink. "A little. Not about marrying Benjamin. That part feels right. But about everything else. The adoption, Trevor being there, becoming a wife after being single for so long. Those are normal feelings. Marriage is a big step, even when you're certain about the person. Were you nervous when you got married?" "Terrified. I was 22, barely knew what I wanted from life. But I knew I loved Benjamin's father, and that was enough." Margaret smiled. 47 years we had together before he passed. 47 years of partnership and love and building a life. That's what I want for you and Benjamin. Thank you for accepting me. And the babies. Honey, you're my daughter now. Those babies are my grandchildren. I couldn't love you more if you were blood. Later that night, after the babies were asleep and Margaret had retired to her room, Janelle sat on the guest bed and called Benjamin. "Can't sleep?" he answered. "Too excited. And nervous. And happy. Me too. I keep thinking about tomorrow, about making you my wife, about officially becoming a father to Caleb, Isaiah, and Amara. No regrets. Not one. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me, Janelle." You and those kids saved me from a life of going through the motions. Tomorrow I get to promise to love you forever. I can't wait. I love you. I love you too. Get some sleep. Big day tomorrow. But Janelle didn't sleep much. She lay awake thinking about the journey that had brought her here, from desperate and alone to loved and secure, from struggling to survive to building something beautiful, from believing she'd failed her children to knowing she'd given them everything they needed, including a father who chose them. Morning came with sunshine and unseasonably warm weather for December. Margaret helped Janelle get ready, doing her hair in soft curls and helping her into the white dress. The babies wore their matching outfits, looking impossibly cute. "You're stunning," Margaret said, tears in her eyes. "Thank you for everything. For welcoming us. For loving us. It's my joy." At the venue, Benjamin waited in the conservatory, surrounded by white flowers and fairy lights. Richard stood beside him as best man. A small group of guests filled the chairs. Friends, Benjamin's business associates, a few of Janelle's former co-workers who had stayed in touch. And in the very back row alone sat Trevor. He'd kept his promise, dressing respectfully and staying out of the way. The music started. Margaret walked down the aisle first, carrying Amara. Then came Caleb and Isaiah in a wagon pulled by one of Benjamin's friends, waving at everyone like tiny celebrities. Finally, Janelle appeared. She'd chosen to walk alone, not wanting anyone to give her away, as if she were property to transfer. She was giving herself to Benjamin, freely and completely. When Benjamin saw her, his face lit up with pure joy. Janelle walked toward him, her eyes locked on his, everything else fading away. They stood together in front of the officiant, a kind woman named Sandra who had known Benjamin for years. "We're gathered here today to celebrate the union of Janelle and Benjamin," Sandra began. "These two people have found in each other not just romantic love, but partnership, friendship, and family. They've proven that love can bloom even in the hardest circumstances, that kindness can change lives, and that hope is never wasted." The ceremony was simple but meaningful. They exchanged vows they'd written themselves, promising to love and support each other, to raise their children together, to build a life based on trust and compassion. "I promise to be your partner in all things," Benjamin said, his voice thick with emotion. "To stand beside you in joy and challenge. To love your children as my own. To build a life with you that honors what we've both survived and celebrates what we've created together." Janelle's voice shook as she spoke her vows. "I promise to love you with my whole heart. To trust you with my children. To build a life where kindness and hope lead us forward. You saved us, but more than that, you saw us. You saw me when I was invisible to everyone else. I promise to honor that gift every day for the rest of our lives." When Sandra pronounced them married, Benjamin pulled Janelle into a kiss that felt like coming home. The small crowd cheered. The babies clapped, not understanding but caught up in the joy. At the reception, held in an adjacent hall with dinner and dancing, everyone celebrated. Margaret gave a speech about how Benjamin had come back to life after meeting Janelle. Richard talked about how the business had transformed under Janelle's compassionate approach. And Trevor, keeping his promise to stay in the background, slipped out before dinner was served. But before he left, he caught Janelle's eye and nodded once. A gesture of acknowledgement, of letting go, of understanding that these children now had the father they deserved. Janelle nodded back. Not forgiveness exactly, but acceptance. Trevor would always be the biological father. But Benjamin was daddy. The man who showed up. The man who chose them. As the evening wore on, Benjamin swept Janelle onto the dance floor. They moved together naturally, comfortable in each other's arms. "How does it feel to be Mrs. Hayes?" Benjamin murmured. "Perfect. Absolutely perfect." "Good. Because I plan on making you this happy every single day. That's a big promise. I'm good at keeping promises." They danced until the babies got tired and fussy. Margaret took them home while Benjamin and Janelle stayed for another hour, soaking in the celebration. Later, at home, they tucked their exhausted children into bed. All three were asleep before their heads hit the pillows, worn out from the exciting day. Benjamin and Janelle stood in the doorway of the nursery, arms around each other, watching their children sleep. "Our children," Janelle whispered. "Our children," Benjamin confirmed. "Legally, officially, completely. Thank you for wanting them. For choosing us. Thank you for letting me. For trusting me with your heart and theirs." They went to their own bedroom, the master suite in the house that had become their home. Tomorrow they'd start their honeymoon, a week at a beach resort while Margaret watched the babies. But tonight they just held each other, grateful for everything they'd built. "I love you, Mrs. Hayes," Benjamin said. I love you too, Mr. Hayes. Forever. And lying there in the dark, wrapped in each other's arms, Janelle thought about how far she'd come. From eviction notices to wedding vows. From survival to celebration. From broken to whole. She'd done it. They'd done it. Together. The honeymoon in Mexico was 7 days of sunshine, ocean waves, and the freedom to just be together without responsibilities. Benjamin and Janelle spent their days on the beach, their evenings at restaurants, and their nights talking about everything and nothing. It was the first time in over a year that Janelle had been away from her children, and while she missed them, the break was necessary. I forgot what it feels like to sleep through the night, she admitted on their third morning. We should do this every year. Make it a tradition. Margaret would love that. She's been texting me photos constantly. Benjamin checked his phone and laughed. She sent me one too. All 3 babies covered in spaghetti sauce. She captioned it, "We're having a great time, no need to rush back." They video called Margaret every evening, watching the babies wave at the screen and babble excitedly. Caleb had learned to say "Mama" clearly. Isaiah kept trying to grab the phone. And Amara blew kisses that made both Benjamin and Janelle's hearts melt. 3 more days, Janelle said after one call. Then we go home to our babies. Our babies. I still love hearing that. The adoption papers had been finalized the day before the wedding. Caleb, Isaiah, and Amara were now legally Benjamin's children with his last name. Is a family officially and completely. On their last day in Mexico, they sat on their hotel balcony watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. I've been thinking, Benjamin said, about the nonprofit, about our plans. And I want to name it after Sophie. Janelle reached for his hand. Tell me more. The Sophie Hayes Foundation. Dedicated to helping families in crisis, providing housing and support, keeping kids with their parents instead of in the system. His voice was soft. Sophie's life was short, but it meant everything. I want her legacy to be hope for other children. That's beautiful. She'd be proud. I think so. And Ellen would be proud of what we're building. They sat in comfortable silence, holding hands and watching the sun sink into the ocean. Can I tell you something? Janelle said. Something I've never told anyone? Always. When I was pregnant, sleeping in my car some nights because I couldn't afford both rent and food, I used to dream about a fairy tale ending. A prince who would rescue us, solve all our problems, make everything okay. She turned to look at him. That's not what you are. You're not my rescuer. You're my partner. We saved each other. Benjamin pulled her close. That's exactly what you are to me. My partner in building something real. They returned home to chaos. Margaret had exhausted herself keeping up with 3 active toddlers, and the house showed it. Toys everywhere, dishes in the sink, laundry piled high. But she was laughing when they arrived, the babies clinging to her legs. Welcome home. We survived, but just barely. The babies launched themselves at Benjamin and Janelle, shrieking with joy. Caleb wrapped himself around Janelle's legs. Isaiah climbed up Benjamin like a tree. Amara wanted to be held by both parents at once, stretching her arms between them. We missed you too, Janelle said, kissing each of their heads. That evening, after Margaret had gone home and the babies were finally settled, Benjamin and Janelle collapsed on the couch. I forgot how exhausting they are, Benjamin said. Welcome to parenthood. Best exhaustion ever. Over the next few months, life settled into a comfortable routine. Benjamin continued managing his properties with Janelle as his business partner. They started laying groundwork for the Sophie Hayes Foundation, meeting with lawyers and nonprofit consultants to establish the structure. Trevor continued his supervised visits, showing up every week without fail. The children had adjusted to him, treating him with cautious friendliness. He brought appropriate toys, followed Sheila's guidance about interaction, and never pushed for more than the court had granted. He's being consistent, Patricia reported. In 6 months he can petition for unsupervised visits if he wants. And if he does? Janelle asked. We assess then. But supervised visits are actually good. They protect everyone. Janelle had made peace with Trevor's presence in the children's lives. He would never be their father, not in any way that mattered. But he could be a positive presence, someone who showed up and cared. The children would eventually have questions about him, and Janelle wanted to be able to say honestly that Trevor had tried to be involved, even if he came late to the game. In March, Janelle discovered she was pregnant. She took 3 tests to be sure, then told Benjamin over dinner. You're what? He dropped his fork. Pregnant. About 6 weeks along. Benjamin's face went through several emotions at once. Shock, joy, fear, excitement. We're having a baby? We're having a baby. He stood up, pulled her into his arms and spun her around. We're having a baby? Oh my God, we're having a baby. Benjamin, you're going to make me dizzy. He set her down gently. Sorry? I'm so happy. Another baby. Our baby. Are you sure? We already have 3 toddlers. For kids is a lot. It's perfect. It's more than perfect. He knelt down and put his hands on her still flat belly. Hi baby. I'm your daddy. I can't wait to meet you. Janelle ran her fingers through his hair, overwhelmed by love. You're going to be an amazing father to this one too. We're going to be amazing parents. Together. They told Margaret the next day. She cried, hugged them both, and immediately started planning for her 4th grandchild. A baby? Oh, this is wonderful. Do you know what you're having? Too early to tell. Well, whatever it is, this baby is going to be so loved. The pregnancy was easier than Janelle's first. She had support, good medical care, and the ability to rest when needed. Benjamin was attentive to the point of being overbearing, monitoring what she ate, making sure she took her vitamins, and worrying constantly. I'm pregnant, not dying, Janelle told him after he insisted she sit down instead of doing laundry. I know. I'm just excited. And protective. It's sweet. But I can still function. Humor me. Let me take care of you. So Janelle let him fuss over her, recognizing it as his way of processing the joy and fear of having another child. He'd lost Sophie. The fear of losing another child was real and valid. But so was the hope of building a family together. The Sophie Hayes Foundation officially launched in May. They'd secured funding from several of Benjamin's business contacts and renovated a small building to serve as headquarters. Janelle hired a staff of 3, a case manager, a housing coordinator, and an administrative assistant. Their first client was a woman named Brielle, a single mother with 2 young children who'd lost her job and housing in the same week. The foundation provided temporary housing in one of Benjamin's vacant properties, connected Brielle with job training programs, and helped her get back on her feet. Thank you, Brielle said, tears streaming down her face. You saved our lives. We're just paying it forward, Janelle replied. Someone helped me when I needed it. Now we help others. By summer, the foundation had helped 5 families. Each success story felt like proof that kindness mattered, that hope could be more than empty words. Janelle's pregnancy progressed smoothly. They learned they were having a girl. Benjamin wanted to name her Sophie, after his late daughter. Janelle gently suggested a different name. Sophie's memory should stay perfect, she said. Let's give this baby her own identity. They settled on Grace Margaret Hayes. Grace for the grace they'd been given, Margaret after Benjamin's mother. The triplets were excited about the baby, even though they didn't fully understand. Amara kept kissing Janelle's growing belly. Caleb liked to pat it and say, baby. Isaiah was mostly interested in whether the baby would play with trucks. The baby will love trucks, Benjamin assured him. In August, Trevor requested a meeting with Janelle and Benjamin. They agreed, meeting at a coffee shop with Patricia present. Trevor looked nervous but determined. I wanted to talk to you about the future. About my role in the kids' lives. Okay, Janelle said carefully. I know I'll never be their real father. That's Benjamin. I see how they are with him, how much they love him. And I'm genuinely happy about that. They deserve him. What are you saying, Trevor? Benjamin asked. I'm saying I want to step back. Not completely. I'd like to keep seeing them occasionally, maybe once a month instead of weekly. But I don't want to confuse them or make things complicated. They have a father. They don't need to. Janelle felt relief wash over her. You're sure? I'm sure. These visits have been good for me. They've helped me see what I gave up, understand what being a parent actually means. But they don't need me disrupting their lives every week. They're thriving. I don't want to mess that up. Patricia documented the new agreement. Trevor would have supervised visits once a month, primarily so the children would know he existed and was interested, but not enough to be a constant presence. After Trevor left, Benjamin turned to Janelle. How do you feel? Relieved. I think this is right for everyone. Me too. In October, Grace Margaret Hayes was born. Labor was shorter than with the triplets, and within hours, Janelle was holding a perfect baby girl with Benjamin's blue eyes and her own dark curls. She's beautiful, Benjamin whispered, tears streaming down his face. She looks like you. She looks like us. Margaret brought the triplets to the hospital to meet their new sister. All 3 were fascinated, peering into the bassinet at the tiny baby. Gentle, Janelle reminded them. Very gentle. Caleb touched Grace's hand carefully. Baby. That's your sister? Benjamin told him. You're going to help take care of her. Isaiah seemed less convinced about this plan, but Amara was already smitten. My baby, she declared. Everyone's baby, Janelle corrected. Our family's baby. They brought Grace home 2 days later. The house that had once felt too big for just Janelle and the triplets now felt perfectly sized for a family of 6. Benjamin had converted another spare room into Grace's nursery, painted pale purple with white clouds on the ceiling. The first few weeks were exhausting but joyful. Benjamin took time off work to help, and Margaret came over daily. The triplets adjusted to being big siblings, mostly by being curious and occasionally trying to share their toys with Grace, who was too young to appreciate the gesture. We're outnumbered, Benjamin joked one night while they each rocked a crying baby. Grace in Janelle's arms, Isaiah having a meltdown in Benjamin's. We knew what we signed up for. Best chaos ever. Christmas came with snow and celebration. The house was decorated with lights and a tree. Presents piled up under it, mostly for the children. Margaret hosted Christmas dinner, which now included the whole family. Benjamin, Janelle, the 4 children, and even Richard and his wife, who had become close friends. I'm grateful for all of you, Margaret said during grace. For this family we've built. For the love in this room. For second chances and new beginnings. Hear, hear, Richard added. And thank you for letting an old cynic into your family. You're not that old, Benjamin teased. Speak for yourself. After dinner they exchanged gifts. The triplets got more toys than they could play with in a year. Grace got baby clothes and books. Benjamin gave Janelle a necklace with 5 charms. 1 for each of their children, plus 1 heart for the 2 of them. So you always remember, he said. We're 5 individuals but we're one family. Janelle gave him a leather-bound photo album she'd been working on for months. Every page documented their journey, from that first day in her old apartment to the wedding to Grace's birth. Pictures of ordinary moments and extraordinary ones, all building to tell the story of their family. This is perfect, Benjamin said, flipping through pages with tears in his eyes. This is our life. This is our life, Janelle agreed. That night, after everyone had gone home and all 4 children were finally asleep, Benjamin and Janelle sat in the living room surrounded by wrapping paper and the glow of Christmas lights. Can you believe this is our life now? Janelle asked. Barely. Sometimes I wake up and think I'm dreaming. Me too. She leaned into him. 5 months ago I couldn't afford electricity. Now I'm married to an incredible man, we have 4 children, and we're running a foundation that helps families in crisis. And you're the CFO of my company, don't forget. When did that happen? Last week. I made it official. You're my chief operating officer. Janelle laughed. You forgot to mention that. I'm mentioning it now. He kissed her head. You've earned it. The business is thriving because of your compassion and efficiency. We're a good team. The best team. They sat together in comfortable silence, listening to the house settle around them. Somewhere upstairs one of the children shifted in sleep. The baby monitor crackled softly. The Christmas tree lights twinkled. This was family. This was home. This was the life Janelle had dreamed of in her darkest moments but never quite believed possible. Thank you, she said softly. For what? For walking into my apartment that day. For seeing me. For choosing us. Thank you for letting me in. For trusting me with your heart and your children. For building this life with me. I love you, Benjamin Hayes. I love you too, Janelle Hayes. Forever. And in that moment, surrounded by the evidence of everything they'd built together, Janelle knew that forever wasn't just a promise. It was a reality. A choice they would make every day for the rest of their lives. The next morning Janelle woke to chaos. All 4 children had somehow ended up in their bedroom, piled on the bed like puppies. Caleb was curled against Benjamin's back. Isaiah had claimed Janelle's pillow. Amara had squeezed herself between them. And Grace was sleeping in her bassinet next to the bed, making soft baby noises. We've been invaded, Benjamin mumbled, still half asleep. This is life now. I love it. They lay there for a few more minutes, savoring the warmth and closeness of their family. Then Grace started crying, signaling breakfast time, which woke Isaiah, who woke Caleb, who woke Amara. Within minutes, everyone was demanding attention, food, and entertainment. Divide and conquer? Benjamin suggested. Always. They spent the morning in their usual chaos. Diapers and bottles and cartoons and breakfast. But it was a happy chaos, the kind that came from a house full of love. Later that day Benjamin found Janelle in the home office, working on foundation paperwork while Grace napped in her arms. You're amazing, you know that? He said. I'm just doing what needs to be done. No, you're building something incredible. The foundation has helped 11 families in 6 months. That's 11 families who have hope because of you. Because of us, Janelle corrected. Okay, because of us. But you're the heart of it. Your compassion, your understanding of what it's like to struggle. That's what makes it work. Janelle looked down at Grace, then around at the house they'd built together. I never thought I'd have this. A family. Security. Purpose. It felt impossible. And now it's my life. Our life. She smiled up at him. We did it, Benjamin. We built something real. We're still building. Every day. And I can't wait to see what comes next. Benjamin knelt beside her chair and kissed her forehead, then Grace's. Whatever comes next, we'll handle it together. Together, Janelle agreed. Outside, the sun was setting, painting the winter sky in shades of gold and rose. Inside, the house was warm and full of life. The triplets played in the living room, building towers and knocking them down with gleeful abandon. Grace slept peacefully, unaware of how loved she was. And Janelle and Benjamin sat together, partners in every sense of the word, building a future one day at a time. This was the happy ending Janelle had dreamed of in her darkest moments. But it was also a beginning. The beginning of a life filled with love, hope, and the daily choice to show up for each other. The fairy tale was real. The prince wasn't perfect and the princess had her flaws. But they had something better than perfection. They had partnership, trust, and the willingness to build something beautiful from the ashes of their past pain. They had a family. They had purpose. They had each other. And that was everything. 3 years later, the Sophie Hayes Foundation had expanded to 3 buildings and helped over 100 families. Janelle managed operations while Benjamin handled funding and expansion. Their model had been featured in local news and was being studied as a template for similar organizations in other cities. The children were thriving. Caleb, Isaiah, and Amara were in preschool learning letters and numbers and how to get along with other kids. Grace was 2 and talking in full sentences, keeping her parents constantly entertained with her observations about the world. Trevor's monthly visits had dwindled to quarterly, then occasional. He'd moved to another state for a job opportunity, and while he sent birthday cards and Christmas presents, his presence in the children's lives had faded to a distant figure they barely remembered. The children called Benjamin Daddy without hesitation, and Grace only knew Benjamin as her father. Margaret was in her mid-70s now but showed no signs of slowing down. She watched the children regularly, spoiled them constantly, and filled her house with photos of her growing family. And Benjamin and Janelle? They were still building. Still choosing each other every day. Still proving that love, hope, and kindness could transform even the darkest situations into something beautiful and lasting. Their story wasn't about a rescue. It was about 2 people who found each other at exactly the right moment, who chose to build something together, and who proved that family isn't just about blood. It's about showing up. It's about commitment. It's about love that lasts. And their love was built to last forever.